I was like, okay, Chad's been doing this every single day. And I know that he's like, oh, man. And I'm like, oh, I got to do this and Courtside Monday. I got to fill 4 hours of radio by myself. I got to call in. I got to send out the Robin signal. Batman needs help. So I text my buddy, friend of the show. You know his voice, Peyton Davis. And like the butler from Mr. Deeds, he was at the studio before he even answered the text. So he's here with me today. Peyton, how you doing?
I am doing well. 4th of July recovery, and I'm ready to talk basketball, talk hoops. Always excited to be here.
Recovery from what? Like, were you just getting overloaded on freedom, or were you getting overloaded on PBRs?
Oh, freedom and food.
Freedom and food.
Yes.
The two Fs.
The U.S. That's what we celebrate. Freedom and food. No, it was awesome. Yeah, ton of great food, ton of great people. So, but clockwork, right back and knocking at the door when you texted me. So
there you go. 4th of July. Are you team hamburger or team hot dog?
I've always been team hamburger, but I got a soft spot for team dog, man.
My gosh, how about Joey Chestnut coming back out of retirement, down in about 500 hot dogs? I don't know how he does it.
Since when is he going to become contention for greatest athlete of all time?
He needs to be up there. Like, that needs to be the talk, right?
Oh, yeah.
Like,
it's like Michael Phelps and Joey Chestnut's right on him.
Right? Like everyone, Michael Jordan, the most dominant athlete of all time. Have you seen Joey Chestnut? Don't tell me he's not an athlete. He puts in hours and hours of training.
Oh, 100%. And he's still not, he's still decent physique. Looks pretty good.
He does have a decent physique for someone who downs 20,000 calories in a minute.
Oh, yeah. 8 minutes. It's like he holds records. It's like hot dogs, Twinkies,
Chad
tacos.
and I went down this list the other day. It's like there's like 50 records that he holds. Like, it's almost every major league eating record, which is funny that there's a major league eating league, but here we are. Like, it's just kind of funny. But again, it's good. Hey, it wouldn't be 4th of July without the Nathan's famous hot dog eating contest, right?
100%.
Also, wouldn't be a nice long 4th of July weekend without the big dumper hitting a couple more home runs. He's on an absolute tear in Seattle.
I feel like every time I open my phone or look at a Mariners score, there's some sort of highlight. Just absolutely crushing the ball, 400-something feet, just ridiculous.
I think Big Dumper might be objectively the best nickname in sports right now. Like, that's a good one.
Oh, yeah. Let me go through the catalog. Yeah, it's up there.
Big Dumper. Like, oh, yeah, hey, you were picking on me earlier, but now I'm just over here mashing home runs.
It's even better that he's a catcher, too. Like, it makes sense for both defense and offense. It's awesome.
Yeah, you're getting into the social media game a little bit. I've seen you getting a little more active. Your TikTok's popping with all your hot Blazer takes. Okay. Now, you ever do the thing on social media where I do this. I've been doing it for so long now, and it seems to never work. But you do that thing on social media where you send a tweet and you're like, okay, this thing picks up, it's going viral, and then you get like 3 likes, and you're like, nope, it didn't work.
All the time, actually, especially because when you start to post more on social media, you get the algorithm that says, like, this is how you go viral. This is how you do this. This is the volume you need to post at. I throw all of it out the window. Yes. At my first 2 weeks of doing it, I was like, this is awesome. I'm going to, I know the strategy. I'm going to post this time. No, I just post when I have something to say, and then I just kind of let it rip and then see what happens.
I'll tell you that. That's what I've learned in my years, that there is no
secret ingredient.
No, there is no ingredient. It just happens.
Yeah.
Because I sent out this tweet. You got to tell me that this is a money tweet, right? Because Cal Raleigh, as we were just talking about, big dumper, he's on a tear, right? The most home runs prior to All-Star break since Ken Griffey Jr. in Mariner history, right? He's absolutely just crushing this ball. He's already surpassed or set his career high. We're only halfway through the year, basically. But on the 4th of July, he hit home run 34 and 35, a 2-home run night. So I tweeted out, Peyton, I was like, Raleigh hit home runs 34 and 35 today. 34, 3 plus 4 equals 7. 35, 3 plus 5 equals 8. 8 divided by the 2 home runs he hit equals 4. 7-4 on 7-4. Math proves that Big Dumper is the greatest baseball player in American history. It got 2 likes. I thought for sure I was going viral with that.
Well, I'm ashamed I wasn't one of those likes.
I mean, that's a good one, right?
Yeah, I might have to go on right after this and like it.
7-4 on 7-4. It's like the number 23, right? Everything comes.
Oh yeah, it's like your gold. It's like your golden birthday of baseball. You're just It's perfect.
But no, he's absolutely he's on a tear, hitting both ways too. It's always fun. Now I am a Red Sox fan. I'll admit that I did grow up a massive Mariner fan too. Just proximity, right? I am the guy who goes, I have two favorite teams. It's the Red Sox and the Mariners, but if they're playing each other, I'll wear my Red Sox cap, right?
Yeah.
Ken Griffey Jr., my favorite athlete of all time. My second favorite baseball player of all time, Manny Ramirez. I was kind of getting into watching the Cleveland Indians, and then he bounced to Boston. I followed him, fell in love with the Red Sox. The rest is history.
Yeah.
Right? But I'll tell you this. Things are a lot more fun in the summer in the Pacific Northwest when good things are happening for the Mariners.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. 100%.
So I wonder what's going to be like here in a couple of years if they get that stadium built, they get a team, and now you get a Portland team. Mariners are coming to town. You're going to have a big contingent of Mariner fans, whatever the yet-to-be decided or created baseball team is in Portland.
I got to get in contact with whoever's doing the marketing because I've been doing a lot of free marketing for that baseball arena on the river. A lot of free marketing. I'm telling everybody I know.
Right?
I'm doing a lot of work. I'm in on this.
Yeah, so my favorite thing about that stadium, which as good as it's going to be. Also, you can join the chat here on YouTube where Mute the Bozo, awesome. I don't know if that's a name or a recommendation, but he said, make Jay Buhner great again. I don't know what you're talking about, okay? Because Jay Buhner was great.
Oh, yeah.
Will always be great. It's kind of like Bret Hart, like the best there is, the best there was, the best there ever will be. Jay Buhner. Great then, great now, great forever. You know that when they demolished the kingdom, the lore is he took a chunk of the outfield with him because there was a permanent stain where he would spit his chewing tobacco.
Really?
and he took that stain.
That's awesome.
David Segui, I believe, took first base, and people were all in an uproar because he had only played like a year and a half or something with the Mariners. I'm going to take first base out of the kingdom.
That's mine. Yeah. That's like when you go to the Masters, and I didn't know there were so many Masters rules, but like you take anything from the Masters, it's this like massive deal. Can't like go to arrested, stuff like that, like
right.
just from taking anything. It's like, nope, I'm just gonna take this. This
right.
is mine. Nobody's gonna catch me.
But I'm glad
I claim it.
I'm glad that Mute the Bozo chimes in with a Jay Buhner reference because the very first Mariner game I ever went to, 1995, I sat in right field. It was the Battle of the Borders, the Mariners versus the Toronto Blue Jays, which is so funny to call it the Battle of the Borders for two teams that are just geographically opposite parts of the continent, right? And the final score was 1-0 on a solo Jay Buhner home run. And I was sitting in the boneyard right field when it happened, which was awesome. So shout out Jay Buhner.
Yeah, shout out Jay Buhner. I have so many Mariners. Funny enough, actually, my favorite baseball player of all time is a Red Sox, and it is David Ortiz.
Oh, Big Poppy.
Favorite baseball player ever. I watched him play a doubleheader against the Mariners when I was probably 12 or 13.
Okay.
And then the next year, I watched Derek Jeter and A-Rod play in Seattle both, and I have Mariner through and through since then.
There you go.
Such great experience.
Obviously, being a Red Sox guy, I'm a huge David Ortiz fan. Big Poppy as a nickname. Doesn't have anything on Big Dumper, though.
No, it doesn't.
Telling you what.
It's cool, but Big Dumper.
Yeah, but like Mute the Bozo was still talking about that era, the era with Johnson and all. That was a whole lot of fun. That was, man. Dan Wilson, Randy Johnson, Ken Griffey Jr., Jay Buhner. Like, God, there was some dogs on those teams.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then even the early 2000s, the 116 win team. You got some fun names who came through. Brett Boone. I liked Jose Lopez. You guys remember Unieski Betancourt? He had a couple of good highlights. Yeah, that's right. I'm throwing names at you now, son.
You're throwing names. I'm
John Olerud, Richie Sexton.
Oh, more familiar.
Raul Ibanez.
Nope. I'm batting about 500 right
See,
now.
I loved Ken Griffey Jr. Then he went to Cincinnati. So then my second favorite Mariner of all time became Mike Cameron.
Mm-hmm.
But I was a center fielder in growing up and through high school. So I like the center fielders.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Mike Cameron, also a human highlight reel. Hit 4 home runs in one game. Come on now. We need to get you on your M's history, my man.
Yeah, absolutely. I got to do some homework after this.
Yes, you do. You got plenty of time. So we're going to take a commercial break. I'm going to get some math questions for you, some history questions. We're going to take you to school, my friend, because you're going to be here for a little bit. This is the Rip City Drive. Going to take a quick break, and then we'll come right back with plenty of more sports talk here on your home of the Blazers, Rip City Radio 620. Welcome back to the Riv City Drive. Chris Burkhardt here with you, filling in for Chad Doing today. Joined by my friend Peyton Davis on the other mic. And I'm trying to get Peyton to, join the rest of the masses. He's only like semi-excited. Meanwhile, I'm over here going, oh, man, when I get home tonight, I'm turning on that Xbox because college football 26 early access today, baby. These are the things that should get you hyped. You're a young kid. Get hyped.
I know. I missed the boat. I didn't pre-order, so I'm really gonna have to do some homework, replay 25 a little bit, and then when that release comes out Thursday.
Don't even replay 25. Just jump into it.
All right.
Just get ready to go.
All right.
Don't mess around, okay?
When is it? Thursday? Is the release?
Thursday's the actual release.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. I'll gear up for Thursday.
There you go. You got to get on that. You got to get on that. I played my final game of 25 last night and lost in the national championship game to another user.
Wow.
Who I ended up being 0-3 against in our dynasty.
Oh, geez.
Some people you just can't beat, man. I got to get better. Got to go back to the lab.
Yeah.
Got to get back to work.
Some people just have your number.
Some people do. They absolutely do.
Mm-hmm.
And Alex and Wyoming are one of those people. It hurt. It sucks. Sucks to lose. No one likes losing.
No.
They've helped me work on my anger, though.
That's good.
Yeah. I've learned to lose better.
Yeah. Hey, even when you lose, you win. You don't ever really lose. It's just you learn.
Yep. No,
100%.
like one of those guys. Like I lost, and I'm gonna go fire up a game against the computer, put it on easy, and win 150-0.
Yep.
Just to feel better about myself.
Not even playing offense. I'm just returning every kick.
Yep. There you go. But no, I'm excited for that game. It looks really good.
Yeah.
I was actually geeking out today. So for those of you who listen, they know. But I'm in a dynasty with a couple Blazer fans, guys I met through being Blazer fans. Met at the games and got in with them, and they play on like hardcore Heisman. It's no holds barred, man.
Yeah.
Like they're really, really good. So the fact that I did get one national championship out of the seasons I played with them does make me feel good.
Yeah.
Okay, even though I lost last night. But I was watching one of them stream today, and I'm like sitting there watching. He's playing as Oregon. They got a first down, and all of a sudden I heard "School's Out," which is what the Oregon marching band plays.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, oh my gosh, they got it in the game. And I tweeted a buddy of mine. I didn't tweet at him. I tweeted, and a buddy of mine responded. He happens to work on the game, and he's a producer on the game as well.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, just wait till they get to first and goal situation. So I'm watching. I get to first and goal, and they start playing the stick it in, which is what the band plays at odds. I'm like, this is so nice. This is so good.
I've even seen like small clips from like pictures of mascots, pictures of gameplay, and it is like so incredibly different, and the even small minute stuff becomes so apparent when you're playing the game. It's just,
hey,
I haven't pre-ordered it, my fault, but
that's all right.
That'll be played.
That's right. All your money went to fireworks and freedom.
That'll be played. True. Very true. I got to save back up.
But so I'm happy. I'm excited for that. I'm also excited for Las Vegas Summer League to be starting here in just a few days. And that will be our first chance to see some of the Blazers. And, of course, there's a couple little sporadic leagues that go on around before Summer League, one of them being like the California Classic. And I think you had Utah for a minute. But there was a Summer League game just the other night pitting the Philadelphia 76ers against the Utah Jazz. A chance to see VJ Edgecombe versus Ace Bailey. And, VJ Edgecombe absolutely put on a show in that game. 28 points, 10 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 block shots, and a steal. He was just 1 of 7 from beyond the arc, 13 of 27, a little shot heavy, but it is Summer League. On the other side of that, Ace Bailey, 8 points, 7 rebounds, 1 assist. He was 3 of 13 from the floor, 1 of 5 from beyond the arc. So obviously Edgecombe looked a lot better than Bailey. He got the edge, pun intended, against Bailey in this one. What are your takeaways for some early Summer League action?
Yeah, it seems like this is kind of just what, Summer League's for, especially this early.
Oh, yeah.
Go play, get your shots up. I mean, what did we watch? We watched Scoot in an NBA game have 30 points on 30 shots. It's get your shots up. So, but still, like to have 27 and come out and have some determination, it shows Philadelphia made a good pick at 3, or not 3, 4?
Edgecombe?
Yeah.
Yeah, I believe 3.
3, okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I liked Edgecombe at Michigan State. He was awesome, and so to come out and put on a show like that is cool, especially so early. So
now the big question, as the Blazers get ready to go to action, they're getting their practices in right now over the next few days. They've had a few media availabilities as well, because again, their summer league action will start on Friday when they play their first game of the summer league session down there in Las Vegas. And as I've said many a time before to all you Blazer fans who listen, if you can afford it or you have the time for it, get down to Las Vegas. It's one of the best times on the NBA calendar. Tickets are fairly cheap, all things considered. Vegas is always a cheap place to stay because it's such a tourist hub, and it's a chance to see everybody, man. If you're down there on Friday watching a Blazer game, chances are you're going to run into a Scoot. You're going to run into a Shea. You might run into a LeBron running around the stadium.
Yeah.
It's absolutely amazing. And that game Friday against Golden State. And for those of you listening who want to know how to watch it, very, very cool here. First off, the 4 games scheduled right now for the Blazers in Summer League will be Friday. That is an 8 p.m. tip-off against Golden State. Saturday, 7:30 against Memphis. Tuesday, 7 o'clock against the Pelicans. And then Thursday, 5 o'clock against the Rockets. All of those games will be on Blazer Vision and KUMP. So if you've been watching Blazer season all year long on your free antenna that they were giving out, or you were able to get, or you purchased Blazer Vision, you will be able to watch those summer league games, which is really awesome because in years past, sometimes those games aren't available or one of the 4 games are available. No, all 4 of them on Blazer Vision, so a chance to see them. So I know I'm going to be watching. I want to know you, though. What are you going to be looking for? Obviously, a chance to see Young Hansen, which is going to be pretty darn cool to see him get a chance. You're also going to have a couple Blazer familiar names, right? I know City Sissoko is going to be down there. Ryan Rupert is going to be on that roster. Donovan Clingan, he's not going down there. But full breakaway, you're going to have Keyshawn Bartholomew, James Bouknight, Andrew Carr, DJ Carton, City Sissoko, Rip City Remix. You guys know him. Same with James Bouknight. Caleb Love, who the Blazers got on that 2-way deal as an undrafted free agent out of Arizona. Justin McCoy, Oliver Kamhua. Yeah, I probably mixed that one up. I'm sorry. Sean Padula, Ryan Rupert, and then obviously Young Hansen, and then Cameron Tyson and Dmitro Skapintsev. Haven't heard that one either. That's a tough one to say. I apologize. But what are you looking for come Summer League?
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I'm looking really at Caleb Love and Hansen Young Hansen. Which one?
Well, okay, this is where it gets confusing.
Okay.
First name is Hansen. His last name is Yang. But Chinese culture, the last name comes first when you're writing it and saying it. And so if you're saying it, you're talking about him, it's Yang Hansen. It's like Yao Ming.
Yeah.
Yao was his last name.
Yeah.
But we all talked about Yao Ming.
Yeah.
Yang Hansen.
Okay. Yang Hansen. So does that mean that Yang is going to be on the back of his?
Yang is on the back of his jersey.
Gotcha. Okay. So obviously you're super excited for Young Hansen and how he's going to play, especially because I'm assuming so many people who were looking at the draft or saw him when we drafted him didn't know much about him, right? So when you see highlights of his, they're all from the Chinese league. And as you know, people probably know the Chinese league, a little bit different competition, a little bit not necessarily slower, but it's easier for a guy who is that tall and a center to look really good in a league like that. So I'm looking for how he competes in, NBA, G League, or Summer League pace, and what he looks like conditioning-wise, because that was something we dealt with Donovan Clingan last year too. So that's something I'm really looking forward to, how his offensive game looks and how his defense looks against those guys. And then I'm just looking for other guys that are on the roster, like you said, Ryan Rupert, who we just extended or gave the qualifying offer to. And yeah, City Sissoko and Caleb Love to shine as well. So those are the guys I'm really looking at, but as well, you're always looking for guys to come out of the woodworks and show what they can do on a stage like this. So
yeah, absolutely. And I think everyone is looking at one direction. I think they're looking at Young Hansen. Yep. How does he look? And you got to understand that it's the same reason I was in this debate earlier with Blazer fans and not happy that Donovan Clingan's not going down, right? Yeah. And there's nothing for a guy like Donovan Clingan to gain out of Summer League right now, okay? He started, 37 games last year. The conditioning got up by the end of the year. He started the year playing about 12 minutes. By the end of the year, last 20 games, he was averaging just under 30 per game.
Yeah.
Yes, he looked tired, but conditioning, you can go work on that. I firmly believe that a whole offseason with the actual training staff, because think about not going from the draft to the summer league and having a very small offseason, a little bit different. Now he gets the full offseason, gets to work out the way he wants. I think he's going to be fine. But you go in and you are the Blazers' day one starting center now, right? Like you got rid of DeAndre Ayton, so he's starting.
Yeah.
There's no other starting centers going down to summer league.
No.
You don't need to send him down there to run offensive plays with point guards who aren't going to be on your roster day one.
Correct.
With a team that you've only practiced with for a week, so you're running a simplified playbook anyway, and you're putting him in a position to fail. There's nothing for him to. So when he sits there and he has, 8 points and 8 rebounds, and you were hoping for him to drop 20 and 15 on people, you're upset. But the nature of summer league, like I firmly believe, just with the way summer league set up, that a guy like Love is probably going to have some big games.
Yeah,
where you're going to fall in love with him.
Yeah,
right. But like Jared Bayless. Jared Bayless was a summer league king.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But famously, Nick Batum looked pretty bad as summer league.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And some of the conversation I was having with Sean Hyken, our Trailblazers insider at the Rose Garden Report, follow him at Hyken. Victor Wembanyama didn't look so good in summer league.
Yeah.
Right. And so you got to temper your expectations just a little bit. What I think is going to be the interesting for Young that I'm going to be looking for is just how he moves.
Yeah.
Because those are the things that will translate. Does he move good laterally? Does he close space well defensively? Mm-hmm. Does he get lost? Because you will be able to tell if a guy has a head on his shoulders or not, or where that basketball IQ is, because that's what both Chauncey and Joe Cronin talked about. He's a smart basketball IQ stood out to us, right? So those are the things I'm going to look for. And then things about his game that will translate to a summer league type of game is the passing that people have talked about.
Yeah.
How good is the passing? Now, he might have a lot of turnovers, which I would not worry about because, again, go to the fact that you don't have a lot of set plays. You're playing with guys you have no chemistry with. You've only been practicing for a week. So maybe you think a guy's going to cut, you pass the ball, the cut doesn't go away you want, it's a turnover.
Yeah.
But I'm still going to be looking for, is he looking for those types of windows, those types of passes? Because if he is, I think that's a good thing. I am not worried about the box score.
No, not at all. I don't either. I think the thing is too, when you look at Donovan Clingan, like that's the thing last year that we worried about too, right? Was if you're going from a situation where you're a D1 basketball player, anybody who watches March Madness knows the speed of the game from D1 to NBA is massive. It's a large gap. Whereas like you see guys who are successful early, you look at a Luka, you look at a, maybe a LaMelo is a good example of guys who have played professional basketball before they get to the NBA. It takes them less time to get to game speed. So that's something I'm looking at with Jan Hansen is he's coming from a professional basketball league where they're still playing higher pace than Division I, where you're running plays and you have sets that you run. So that's also, like you said, what I'm looking for. I'm looking for his footwork. I'm looking for how he moves. And then kind of looking back at Donovan Clingan too, like I didn't expect him to go because you now you have to change your defensive system because your starting center is a defensive asset, whereas before Ayton was an offensive asset but a defensive liability. So we're going from maybe a half drop with Ayton to a full drop with Clingan where he's not going to be able to move his feet as much. So I want him here practicing that at game speed with guys who are going to start with him rather than send him down to the summer league. I think it's the right thing.
Absolutely. And then I think the counter argument would be like, well, Ryan Ruper's going down and he's a 3-year vet. Well, again, he hasn't proven much.
Yeah.
He's fighting for the end of a roster spot, right? Like he's not necessarily going straight in to being a part of the rotation. So he has a lot to gain still.
Yeah.
You could argue, well, why, Jan's going down. He's going to be in the same position as Clingan, right? A center playing with a point guard who's not going to be on the roster. The difference is, and I'm not saying the level is JV, but again, if you're a varsity athlete and you're proven to be a varsity starter, you have nothing to gain by going down and playing frosh ball for a year because you're a freshman.
Correct.
Right? Or going and playing JV.
Yeah.
Right. So you can fill up the box score and feel really good about yourself, but you're playing to talent that isn't ready to be up at that next level just yet. Right? You like Donovan Clingan has proven that he's a player in the NBA. And so he doesn't have a lot to gain by going and taking that step back, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Because again, I think there's more harm and you got the plays, you got the situations, you know what you need to do. Now we're going to dumb it down take all your defensive rotations away, take all the offense that you know away, and you're just going to run nothing but pick and rolls and run really hard to work on your cardio. Doesn't work.
No.
Right? As where, again, for Jan, he is, for the analogy I'm working, a freshman.
Yeah.
So you start him out on the freshman team. And if he looks really good, great. The call-up's going to look nice when you put him on the varsity squad in a few months, right? And then a guy like Ryan Rupert has a ton to gain. He is fighting for a roster spot, fighting for what the rest of his NBA career looks like, right? I mean, Jake Layman and Pat Connaughton, I believe, were both there in year 3 too. And well, then Pat Connaughton famously, I mean, he got waived by Portland, and as he put in his thank you letter to the Bucks today, like, I got waived and was told to go back to baseball, right? That's what he said in his goodbye letter.
Yeah.
And then, the Bucks grab him, and he's there for almost a decade, and things work out. So sometimes you do have a lot to gain. Those guys have something to gain, to prove, and that's where Ryan Rupert is. City Sissoko as well, like, and then at the same time, you got a bunch of guys who aren't necessarily fighting for Blazer roster spots, but you still have the Rip City Remix roster that you got to fill out. So they're fighting for those spots as well.
Yeah.
I don't know if I need Donovan Clingan being in the paint against a guy with nothing to lose coming in. Like, you know what I mean? Little things like that. Well, what about Cooper Flagg? Cooper Flagg's playing down there. Again, Cooper Flagg, for as good as he was at Duke, he's on the freshman squad right now.
Yeah.
You got to get eyes on him as if you're the Dallas Mavericks.
Absolutely. And I think everybody has a runway. It's exactly what you're talking about, right? Like, even if you are coming in as a freshman, you still have to separate yourself from the freshman class to be a varsity player. You have to, and Donovan Clingan has done that, even with his, growing minutes this last season. He separated himself,
right,
especially as a defensive player. So, like, you have to at least give the opportunity to separate yourself from your peers that are there with you and show that you have the ability to, work towards something. Now, Young Hansen's runway, per se, is probably shorter than a Ryan Rupert who's in year 3 and still has a long runway to go and has the ability to get to that at some point. But you still have to start at the same spot.
Yep.
It's just how it works.
You have to. And so I think it's, like I said, it's going to be interesting to see how that all plays out. And as, again, commenters on YouTube love an interesting pickup. And yeah, I agree. Because one thing this team's going to need in the long run is they're going to need a shooter. So there's a spot on that roster somewhere for Love if he can show that he has that shot. I think you got to be careful because he does have the propensity to want to just take a lot of shots and just have the ball in his hand, which is not necessarily what you want. But if you can turn him into a catch and shoot type guy who can hit that shot with consistency, that's good. If you want to join the conversation, 503-248-0620. We have a few people waiting, so we'll go out there. First, we'll head to Pat, who's been waiting here for a minute here. He wants to talk about the Blazers. He has a question. He says, where are they going? Pat, welcome in to the Rip City Drive.
Hey, Chris. Nice to talk to you the first time. I'm pleased to hear you behind the mic, and I always enjoy your time on the air, and you bring a good chat about the Blazers. So my overall thought after this whole thing with everybody being traded and going here and going there and teams shuffling, and I know it's not over yet, but it seems like our Blazers are being pretty quiet, and I don't hear them being talked about in any of the trades. And what bothers me, it seems like we're probably going to be in that lottery pick for the next couple of years, letting our team kind of gel more together and let the guys get more developed. And it just seems like a hard thing to swallow right now as a fan for the next few years, that we are going to just be mediocre until our guys can get better.
Well, Pat, first off, thank you for the call. You're always welcome back. Thank you for the compliment. That makes me feel great. Now, to answer your question, because that's what it's all about, I get where the frustration can come in, right? But I think this is different to me over the last few years, because I think there's more light at the end of the tunnel now than there has been, because you're like, where are we going? We're treading water. We're tanking, right? Joe Cronin said at the end of the year that the focus is now the playoffs, right? Does that mean they're going to be a playoff team this year? No, but it means that they're putting their best foot forward and they're going out there trying to win games. They're not doing the whole I'm injured, whatever. They're going to win. And I think it's a good thing, Pat, that you got out of DeAndre Ayton. You have opened the door for Donovan Clingan to be the starter. You also opened up massive window for Young Hansen to get minutes and get in that rotation. Peyton and I will talk about it throughout the show, but I do think that Scoot Henderson is going to be the starting guard. I'll tell you why. But either way, you've opened up the door for him, right, in the long run, because I don't think Drew Holiday is going to be here for the 3 years remaining on his contract, right? Shea's going to go. The only question is Jeremy Grant, but maybe Chauncey says, you know what, Jeremy, you're a bench guy because we need to start Denny. I think there's enough looking forward that you feel excited about where the team is going. And if the team is bad this year, at least you're bad with all your young guys. You're not bad shuffling Anthony Simons for half the season, then Scoop for half the season, Grant for half the season, then Denny for half the season, Ayton for half the season, Robert Williams for a quarter of the season, Klingon for a quarter. There's no you have set forth the guys that you want moving forward, and they have a chance to either go win ball games and be a playoff team, or maybe they fall short, but they show improvement because you finally let the young guys go. That's what has me excited, Pat. So I wouldn't be too upset about the mediocrity because I think they're going to be much better this year. I think their ceiling is probably the play-in if everything gels, and that would be great. I would accept that. But if they're in the lottery like they were this year, but again, it was all the young guys and they were actually showing progression from those guys, I think I'm okay with that. You said for years to come, I think they might be in the lottery this year. I don't think so next year. I also feel that, quite frankly, if they're back in the lottery this year, probably a failure a little bit, right? Because they need to start moving forward. So I'm very excited, Pat. So hopefully that helps turn your idea a little bit because I want you to be excited as well. But you said it was your first time calling, man. Always call back. I'm glad that you called. I'm glad you asked the question. And I'm glad you enjoy listening to us here on the Rip City Drive. Miguel, you've been waiting patiently. Stay there. I'm going to grab you as soon as we come back from the break. We'll go back to Mariner Talk just for you. It says you want to talk about the Big Dumper, one of the best nicknames in baseball. So when we return, Miguel, Mariner Talk right here on the Rip City Drive. Welcome back into the Rib City Drive. Hey, did you make sure to put on sunscreen this weekend?
I did. Of course, notoriously, I did miss a couple of spots, but for the most part, yes.
Okay.
I did.
I didn't, and mainly it was because the children were like, Dad, get in the lake. Come on, come swimming. I'm like, okay, I'm coming. And I forgot. And I was busy, and I'm a little crispy today. My shoulders are skin's a little tight.
Yeah. No, that's where the aloe vera comes to play. I've used it many a times.
Oh, yes.
The shower. Oh, man. What's the worst place to get sunburned, do you think?
I don't know. Shacker was telling me he sunburned the top of his feet, and that one sucked when he's wearing shoes.
I think that might be the right answer.
But I do hate the shoulders because then you got to take a cold shower. The hot shower hurts.
Oh, the hot shower for sure hurts afterwards.
My wife, bless her heart, went to the store last night. She's like, go to the store, get some stuff for dinner. I'll grab some aloe for you, right?
Nice. Okay.
So we have an aloe lotion, but not the aloe vera,
Yeah, yeah.
She said she walked into Fred Meyer. She goes, there was a bunch of people who were sunburned, right? A little sun kiss walking around. And she walked into the lotion aisle, and every single container of aloe was gone. Everybody was so sunburned at Fred Meyer, bottom out of aloe. She had to Amazon me some. It's there when I get home tonight.
Okay.
All right.
Nice.
But, things are hot. You know who else is hot? Cal Raleigh, the big dumper. We were talking about him earlier. He's absolutely just shattering some records there in Seattle and for his personal bests and all this stuff. It's great to see. And so Miguel in McMinnville has been waiting very, very patiently to get in on this conversation. Thanks for waiting, Miguel. I had to wait till we were done with that Blazer talk, but we're back to Mariner talk just for you. So what do you want to get in here on the big dumper?
Well, what's funny is it's usually a lot quicker, but it's fine because it's what I listen to while I'm at work, and I always wait from 3 to 5 because it's my favorite time to listen to the radio, although it's on all day. But as soon as you started talking about Blazers, I was like, man, just another thing to talk about. But I had a 4-month-old. I had a baby in February, and I was like, man, I want to get out of town. So went up to Seattle this weekend, and I'm not a huge baseball guy. I'm a soccer guy, but I do like flicking it on. Doesn't bother me at all. I do like to watch, any sport. Doesn't matter. It could be badminton for all I care. But, growing up, the Pirates were one of those teams that I like to watch because of McCutchen. So, kind of closing out, it was like not a childhood dream, but it was cool watching him play. I was hoping to see Skeens play, but he didn't pitch until yesterday. Still a great game. First game that I got to go to with my daughter. And to see 4 home runs in one day was awesome. But to see some history, she won't remember it. But the cool thing is on the 35th, I actually got video of it, and I've got her right in my arms and freaking out. And she's just looking at me like, what the heck is going on here, Dad? And, it was really cool to be able to capture that moment in a video. So when, she grows up, she's like, oh, my gosh, I was there. And hopefully she's a big sports head like I am. There's always sports on at the house. And we try the lullabies, we try anything, but as soon as sports get flicked on, she's just looking at the screen and content. So I think I'm on a good roll. But back to, what I wanted to talk about was, it's really cool to be able to witness some history. And the more digging you do into it, he's an elite company with some great names. I know you guys mentioned Ken Griffey, Babe Ruth as well on there, and those guys did it multiple times. So, will he do it again? Next season? I know are we getting ahead of ourselves? Yeah, probably. But that's the beautiful thing about sports is can he keep that same momentum up? Can he keep that Golden Glove type defense up behind the plate? Because that's what's going to attract players to keep coming. And I also want to mention, before the Mariners took those leads. Honestly, I don't think that happens. There was runners on the bases, and Randy Arozarena made some great plays out in the outfield.
Yes,
able to save those because if he doesn't get those and he flops that or comes out of the glove or bobbles it, they're scoring easily 2 runs on, and that happened 2 times. One before it went up 2-0, and then the second one before they went up 4-0. And he was one of those players to hit one of those homers, and I think they're going to a really homer-friendly stadium starting tomorrow, which could work in their advantage. Unfortunately, the Dodgers couldn't help them out to close that gap with the Astros. Still a lot of baseball left, but like I said, it was really cool to witness some history. And what better place to call than to call into the Rip City Radio and talk about it. And
absolutely,
I won't take too much more of your time, but you guys started talking about basketball, and I'm on here, and I just I follow all those fan pages, the Blazer fan pages, and people are just so negative, and there's always that person that wants the old heads, but I truly like the direction that the Blazers are going in, especially that second half of the season last year. They lost a lot of games by, just a couple of buckets, and they really turned on the defense, which to me, defense travels. You can have an off shooting night, but if you can defend well night in and night out, that's really going to carry it. And I mean, look at the league. That to me, Oklahoma they have great offensive firepower. They have guys who can get their shot when they want. But what's truly elite about them? It's their defense.
Yeah.
They all play as a unit. They all play together. And I'm not saying Portland is there, but they found an identity, and it's not scoring the ball. It's defending the ball. And we have our better version of Batum. And, and Tumani, and he's going to come into himself offensively more. He's already an elite defender. He's going to be even more of an elite defender and really develop that shot. But we've got guys who want to play defense. That's the biggest difference. And a lot of people were negative about, Hansen coming in. But, I mean, man, that kid can ball. If you watch his highlights, you can't teach a soft touch. There's things that you can teach. He can lift more. You can get him on a better diet. But you cannot teach the touch that he has around the rim. That is something that he's got the touch of a shooting guard. It's gorgeous to see. But I appreciate you guys taking my call. Go Blazers, go Mariners. They're the closest thing we got to McMinnville, to Oregon. Again, I appreciate you guys taking my call, hearing me out.
Hey, Miguel, just real quick before you run away, did you guys drive up to Seattle?
We sure did. Yeah, it's a 4-hour drive.
It's not bad.
It's a pretty nice drive. It's not too bad. Stopped on the way down, to see the Bruce Lee, his memorial down there at his tombstone. And my lady's nephew was in from town. He's a big Padres fan, and he goes, you know what? This stadium is so much nicer than Petco. The skyline's awesome. It's electric in here. It's cool. And he's a big baseball head, so he got to see some. He's 16, and he got to see some history too. So he was, freaking out during the game, and he thought it was super cool. He was having the time of his life. Even got him a Mariners hat, and he took his Padre hat off and started wearing that. So
yeah, that's awesome.
Trying to convert him over, and it was just a good time. And hey, if Peyton can't be there as quick next time, save my number. I'm dying to get on. It's a dream. Any sort of broadcasting, any sort of sports talk. I'd be your man. I'm sure there's a long list, but
absolutely, man.
I'll play hooky from work.
Absolutely, man. Hey, thanks, Miguel. And the only reason I asked if you drove is because I want to take the train with my kids one day.
Oh yeah,
take the train up to Seattle, catch a game, spend the night, and then train back. Because kids get to that age where they think trains are awesome and they'll just love it.
It's pretty
that
awesome.
Needs to be on the list, Miguel, next time when the kid gets a little older. All right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, plenty of more sports talk here on the Rip City Drive. Hello there, Rip City. It's 4 o'clock here on this beautiful Monday afternoon in the NBA offseason. It is in full swing. Moratorium period started on June 30th, but as of yesterday, all those deals that were reported could become official. And today it became official. The Blazers sent Anthony Simons to the Boston Celtics for Drew Holiday, but a little bit of a change going on. The Blazers no longer sending 2 second-round picks to Boston. It is just a straight player swap, Drew for Simons. And some other NBA wheelins and dealins. The Clippers are sending Norman Powell to the Miami Heat in a 3-team trade that sees the Utah Jazz sending power forward John Collins to the Clippers. And in Orlando, the Magic have signed star forward Paulo Banchero to a 5-year, $239 million maximum rookie contract extension. Hour 2 of The Drive starts next. Did Shacker pick this song because Anthony got traded? It's time I disappear. Is altering the roster Mission Impossible? Get it? 'Cause that's the soundtrack it was on. I got jokes today. Metallica, man, I saw Metallica on the stage. Are you you're too young. You're the new generation. You were probably first in line at the Crazy to Get Into show for Post Malone and Jelly Roll. You were probably there. You probably weren't in line to listen to Ozzy's farewell show.
No, I was not. I wanted to get Post Malone Jelly Roll tickets. Didn't.
Called it.
Didn't. Yeah, you did.
Called it.
Hey, my dad likes Jelly Roll and Post Malone.
I didn't say there's anything wrong with it. I'm just you just feel like those are the vibes you're giving me.
Okay, not bad vibes to give.
I don't mind either one of them. I don't hear songs from them that I dislike. I'm just a metalhead.
Yeah.
Like he plays Metallica for the intro. It's my favorite band. Ozzy Osbourne had his farewell show. Finally, he's wrapping it up. Unfortunately, dealing with Parkinson's.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So he couldn't move. He was just sitting in a chair. But he sounded great. You can see some of the clips on YouTube. But Metallica was there. Pantera was there. Steven Tyler was there. They're doing some Led Zeppelin covers. It was just a massive show. And I saw on YouTube or on social at one point, Jason Momoa shows up and just joins the mosh pit. Like,
Really?
what would you be doing if you were at Post Malone and Jelly Roll and you're just like sitting there, stage center, right there? You look over and like Jason Momoa or some other megastar is just like rocking out with you.
I'd be like, this is where I'm supposed to be. This is where I'm meant to be in this moment right now.
Oh, selfies for days.
I'd be like, Aquaman is right here next to me.
Man, my friend Jason decided to come with me. He doesn't know I'm taking this picture. But click,
Exactly.
Click.
Why is he standing so far from you? It doesn't matter.
And as it turned out, the best Black Sabbath Ozzy cover of the night was from Youngblood.
Yeah,
have you even heard of him? I just learned who he was. I assume the young kids know.
I have heard of him. What was the cover though?
Changes.
Oh, I did hear it. I did hear it, and it was not bad at all. Except I tell you what, if for a rocker, and if you like rock music, obviously you get it. But it almost put a tear in my eye listening to Ozzy sing "Mama, I'm Coming Home" one last time, and then like the meaning behind the song just hits a little bit harder when he's battling Parkinson's and finally waving goodbye to his career. He's like, "Mama, he's finally coming home forever." Like, My wife is actually mad at me, Shacker. She had no idea this concert was a thing, and she texted me today. She's like, "Why weren't we there?"
Oh,
she
had watched it on TV. You could have watched it from your phone wherever you were.
Well, she surprised me back, years ago now with tickets to Ozzy when he was supposed to stop in Portland, but then he canceled his tour because that was when he started to get sick and had the health issues, so he never made the stop in Portland.
Yeah,
we had tickets to that show.
I had tickets to that show too.
Yeah, you had tickets. My mom and dad had tickets. Yeah, Danielle surprised me with tickets.
Wow. I love Ozzy.
Peyton wasn't going. He can't name an Ozzy Osbourne song off the top of his head.
That's not
except
true.
Crazy Train, but that's a cop-out.
No, it's not a cop-out.
It absolutely is a cop-out.
What about Mom, I'm Coming Home?
Because I just said it. That's like it's like the only Metallica song you can say is Enter Sandman. It's like, yeah, because it plays at stadiums. Stadium anthems don't count. Oh yeah, I know Guns N' Roses. Welcome to the Jungle. I hear it at Blazer games all the time. That doesn't count.
No, I definitely more Guns N' Roses than either Metallica or Ozzy Osbourne. But I always was a I don't know what you'd consider like soft rock guy. Like why can't I think of something?
What is soft rock?
Not can't think of something.
Is that yacht rock? Close to it.
Kind of. Like,
come on, give me a band.
Yeah, why can't I think of it?
Obviously
like Queen, or like my favorite band is
classic rock.
I would say more classic rock. Why can't I think of
can't even think of your favorite band?
I know.
Maybe they're not your favorite band.
So terrible. Fleetwood Mac, I'm sorry. That's what I'm thinking of. That's like my type of rock.
Okay, you like that classic rock.
Correct.
Okay, that's fair.
So that's my favorite. But the Police, I like the Police a lot. I like a lot of that classic rock genre, I would say.
Okay, I'll let it pass. Those are all good.
So I'm not uncultured, but I do also. I like other stuff too. I like
Hey, I never said you were uncultured, okay?
I was calling myself that. But
I probably said it before back in college, you know the drill. College is great, but college is just a ruse. It's like you go in, you have your emphasis, your study. So what'd you study at OSU?
Digital communication and marketing.
Okay. So I'm pretty sure they didn't have any communications courses back when I went. Because I never even considered going to OSU because University of Oregon had the journalism school.
Yeah.
I have a lifelong Duck. Grew up a Duck, but the University of Oregon was like 4th on my list. Wanted to go to Syracuse, Miami, or Washington State. Got priced out of all of them.
Those are all awesome.
So I took the in-state school, right? But I'm pretty sure Oregon State didn't have that back when I was looking. Otherwise, because I didn't even consider them for that reason. So it's cool that they had it.
Yeah.
But the point is, you focus on your digital communication, and then you have like, got to get all my gen ed credits. So let me go take this Shakespeare class or something so I can get my credits real quick. One of the classes I took to fulfill those gen ed credits was the history of rock and roll.
That's awesome.
Like when your teacher looks at you, it was 8:00 in the morning, like Monday, Wednesday, Friday. It was a 3-day class.
Perfect time.
But when your teacher looks at you and he's like, "Don't miss next class. It's Jimi Hendrix Day. It's my favorite day of the entire semester." You're like, "This class is awesome.
Yeah, I'm not missing."
We're going to show up to class. We're going to listen to Hendrix, and then we're going to break it down note by note.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. This is awesome.
That's awesome.
Hendrix, the Beatles, like the Police. We're in there. We're all, oh, my gosh, just those classic rock bands. Sabbath, Queen, little Metallica. I think we went all the way through, it was like basically like the modern rock. Oh, my gosh, it was beautiful. It was glorious.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Don't miss Hendrix Day. Yeah. You don't got to tell me twice, teach.
Yeah, exactly.
For some reason, this class has the highest attendance of any other class on campus. I don't understand why.
Yeah, no idea.
No idea.
No, that's sweet. Yeah, it's funny because Oregon State used to be just purely like very much agriculture and engineering. That was their primary things. And then Oregon, was journalism, writing, sciences.
Got the good business school.
Yeah, business school. Yeah.
So because like I said, I'm pretty sure they didn't have that. Maybe I was wrong, but I feel like there was a reason I never considered Oregon State. Because when it came to where I was going to go to college, like, I'm a lifelong Duck, but I'm like, if Oregon State has the program that I want and I jive with the teachers, if I go take a visit, like that's gonna be where I go. Like my career and my goals are a little more important than my allegiance to my favorite college football team.
Yeah, exactly.
So, but that's cool that you got that digital communication. And look at you here, volunteering your time on a beautiful Monday to come sit in here with me.
100%. And don't go saying that college is a scam. People take that and run with it. So,
well,
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
I mean, it costs a lot of money, and most of my time there was gen eds. Like, again, why do I need this William Shakespeare class?
Oh yeah.
I mean, this is cool. Shakespeare's great, but do I really? I mean, I took like 4 astronomy classes. I probably could have minored in astronomy because I had to fill up some science creds. Like, can't I just study my field?
Yeah.
Just come on.
Yeah. Doesn't make sense.
No.
Until you get to your last 2 years makes sense.
Yeah, because your last 2 years, like, finally, I'm in the actual school of journalism or digital communication. I get to take all those courses. This is great. Yeah. This is what I wanted for the last 2 years.
Yeah.
But no,
I have to take Econ 201.
Exactly.
My microeconomics for some reason.
Right.
Like, okay.
Econ, right? Like, what are we doing?
Yeah.
What are we doing?
Yeah.
English 101, creative writing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, no, creative writing. I want to be a creative speaker. Come on.
Yeah.
Brutal.
Brutal.
Brutal. I don't even know where we're going with that. We got
Me
off
neither.
the rails, my friend. That's all right.
Yeah.
Ozzy Osbourne's great. That's the point.
True.
But you know what? Sometimes you don't get to listen to the guys, right? You don't get to listen to Metallica and Ozzy or AC/DC. Sometimes you get to listen to the cover bands, right? The guys who are next in line and doing all the hits, like Shoot to Thrill, an AC/DC cover band. Judas Rising, a Judas Priest cover band. You heard of any of these? Heard of Shoot to Thrill. They're good, right?
Yeah.
Hysteria, a Def Leppard cover band.
Yeah.
Eagle Eyes for the Eagles.
Yeah.
Almost Human, a Kiss cover band. The only reason I'm bringing these names up is because them and many others will be at Hairfest July 17th through the 19th at the Clackamas County Fairgrounds. And if you want a chance to go listen to these bands, just indulge, have some good food, some good drinks, and listen to some awesome cover bands, we got you hooked up. All right. You can get a pair of tickets right now. All you got to do is be the first caller through. 503-248-0620 is a telephone number. Once again, 503-248-0620. And the first caller through will win a pair of tickets to Hairfest July 17th through the 19th at the Clackamas County Fairgrounds in Canby. You got a Journey cover band, like I said, Fleetwood Mac, Tom Petty, Van Halen, Alice in Chains, Heart, Motley Crue, The Cars, Ozzy, which that one's going to hit pretty hard now because here's the thing. Now, all you have is Ozzy cover bands because Ozzy's officially hung them up, right? So you got Crazy Train there, Whitesnake, Iron Maiden, the Beastie Boys, Bruce Springsteen, the Foo Fighters, Foreigner, 80s hair in general with Rock Shop, ABBA, Hall & Oates, which I know Chad's going to be all about, and a YouTube tribute band too. 503-248-0620. Win a pair of tickets to Hairfest. Call right now. 503-248-0620. If Chad were here, he'd be like, Newberg, call in now. Lebanon, call in. LeGrand, call in. 503-248-0620. Win a pair of tickets to Hairfest. All right, man, we weren't off the rails. College. It's just because college football has me in a college state of mind.
True. Yeah.
It's a beautiful thing, man. What do you think? Hey, I got you in here now. I haven't even had to get it. What do you think about the Pac State? It's not even the Pac-12 anymore. It's just going to be Pac State. Texas State, Boise State, Utah State, Oregon State, Colorado State, Fresno State, San Diego State. Every single team is a state, but getting back up, getting ready. I mean, the conference lives. I enjoy that. I hate the fact that it's not the Pac-12 that I love.
Me too.
But at least it's still around.
I feel the exact same way. I think, what is it? Are we at 8 now? Is it 8 teams? And that's what you officially
that's what you need. Yep.
Yeah, you officially need that for a conference. I'm just happy the Pac-12 is back. Like you said, it's not your typical, Arizona State, UCLA, USC, Oregon, Washington State. But I'm happy it's around. I'm happy they're bringing it back. I'm happy the Pac-12 didn't go to die.
Yeah, you're right. Like I said, Boise State, Colorado State, Fresno State, Oregon State, San Diego State, Texas State, Utah State, Washington State, and Gonzaga State for basketball only.
I wonder what it means for baseball. Same thing?
Maybe.
Because I know we were independent this last year.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you're probably going to end it. I don't think this is a football only. I'll look into that.
Okay.
Also, independent and then doing what they did. Gosh,
Awesome.
Mitch
Awesome.
Canham deserves some credit. Absolutely.
Amen.
Deserve some credit. Chris Burkhardt here with my friend Peyton Davis. The show rolls on after the break right here on your home, the Blazers. Rip City Radio 620. Welcome back into the Rip City Drive. Chris Burkhardt here with you. My friend Peyton Davis joining me, who I've told him before, still confuses me every time he texts me because my daughter's name's Peyton. I'm like, she doesn't even have a phone. How's Peyton texting me? This is weird. It's like some Inception or something. Like, have I entered the Matrix? No. It's because Peyton's a common name, and I know it's another Peyton. Jeez.
Great name. It's a great name.
It's a good name.
And Chris is like a father figure to me, so I texted him.
Okay, sure. Okay, I've met your dad. I don't think you need another father figure. Your dad's pretty. Your dad's got it all together. Pretty good guy.
Yeah, true.
Pretty good guy. He like me needs to learn to use the sunscreen though.
Yeah, amen. Amen. Yeah.
Now we were talking about the Pac-12 a second ago, and shout out to Michael Shacker brought this to our attention that unfortunately Texas State was going to hold a big Pack the Park event to celebrate joining the Pac-12, but due to the flooding, which is just getting worse and worse.
Yeah.
The death toll rising. I saw earlier surpassed 100. They had to cancel that event, so they had to cancel their celebration to join the Pac-12. They'll still get their chance, but man, sometimes sports just got to go to the side because life happens, and the flooding in Texas. Some of those videos you're seeing just absolutely devastating, and it's crazy because these videos you've seen like similar videos before. You'll see a lot of this in like Las Vegas, or not necessarily Las Vegas, but Nevada, Arizona, the deserts where those flash floods happen and they come out of just nowhere.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, this one just happened to hit some areas where there was a population. And man, floodwater is just nothing to be messed with. I know it's way before your time, and it wasn't a flash flood, but I mean the flood of '96 here in Portland, that thing was pretty devastating, right? So it's that's. Obviously, everyone's thinking about everyone in Texas and everyone being safe. Very unfortunate. So hopefully Texas State gets to get their celebration in where the time is right. But you got to make sure that everyone's taken care of first. That is absolutely for sure. I've been in Vegas before. Have you ever been in Vegas? Well, have you gone to Vegas? Sure, you have. You're of the age where Vegas is still awesome.
I've been to Vegas for basketball tournaments multiple times. I have never been since I've turned 21. So I've never been over age. I've been there for strictly business.
And you're what, 24?
24.
Okay. So 3, okay. I went there when I was 21.
Okay.
I still like Vegas.
Yeah.
Vegas is one of my favorite vacation spots. Oddly enough, not big on the nightclub life. Gambling, I enjoy gambling, but I don't throw a lot of money around.
Yeah.
I enjoy drinks, but I'm not a massive drinker. But for some reason, I just love Vegas.
Yeah, it's just for some reason, it's just a very positive atmosphere. And also, I went in the summertime one of these times, and I got to actually watch a couple summer league games, and I met CJ there too, which was awesome.
Nice.
So yeah, I've never been there when I've been of age, but I've also always enjoyed it.
But I've been there one time. It was summer league when I was there too, or one of those little summer monsoons came through and it flooded. It's like their parking garage are designed to flood out. Like they're designed for all the water to come out of the parking garage and right into, like right there where the link is, the high roller wheel.
Oh, yeah.
The Ferris wheel there. There's like the Vegas underground, right, where flood water will go to and divert. And if you're right there when it's monsooning, seriously, it's like a river coming out of the parking garage. Yeah. It would. Mm-hmm. It would. I'll show you a video during next break if I can find it because it was crazy. Yeah. Absolutely crazy. And so, again, man, floodwater is just wild. Now, Summer League, I was there. That was when I was there. I saw Paul Pierce. We were in the Bellagio, and I was like, I was really hoping he would turn and just get on a poker table because, like, I wanted to see how much money a guy like Paul Pierce would throw on a high, goes into the high roller room and it's like, hey, minimum bet, $500 a hand. No big deal. Go. He didn't play any blackjack. He just walked through. But like you said, you ran into CJ, and that's why I said to everyone who can get a chance, get to Summer League. It's the absolute best, especially if you're there the first weekend. You're going to get a chance to run into all the stars because a lot of them are there in Vegas because there will be get-togethers for all the various companies, and so you'll have your sponsorship obligations. Mm-hmm. So you'll see all the head coaches. You'll run into all the general managers. You will see all the players, and like Cox Pavilion, for instance. So if you've ever been down there, you got Thomas and Mack Center, which is the main stadium, holds like 14,000 people, right? And then it is directly connected to the Cox Pavilion, which is the practice court. They do volleyball games in there and stuff for UNLV. directly connected. So if you have a ticket, you won't buy a ticket to a Blazer versus Pelicans game. You buy a ticket to the day.
Yeah.
And you can just get up in the middle of a game, walk over to Thomas and Mack, sit down in any open seat, and take in the game. But at Cox Pavilion, there's only 2 doors in and out, and that's all. There's no special entrance for the players and the coaches. No. So you might be getting ready to get in and turn behind you, and there's James Harden coming in to find his seat too. They have sections cut off for the players and the team, so like only the players and coaches can sit there. But it's like that's where you meet the refs, you meet the coaches, the GMs, all that stuff. So if you can get down there, get down there. It's like at my hotel of all places, I met Joey Crawford, like former NBA ref, who was like a teddy bear, like the nicest dude ever.
That's so
is
funny.
When I was there with Dwight, and Dwight knows him. So Dwight's like, Burkhardt, come over here. I want to introduce you to someone. And you're like, so cool, right?
Hey, yeah. No, that's awesome.
Saw Dame, did interviews, met like Rick Carlisle, Danny Ainge, all that stuff. Summer League is the way to go.
Yeah.
And the cool part is, too, the players, again, they also don't usually do like exit outside the back door and they're gone. So like I remember Zach Collins' rookie year, he plays his game and he just walks out of the Cox Pavilion into the main concourse, which again connects that and Thomas and Mack. Mm-hmm. He's just out there signing autographs.
Yeah.
So if you're there, you're going to be able to see Young Hansen. You're going to see Cooper Flagg. You're going to be able to meet all those guys, but you're going to see all the big guys too who are there. Usually that first weekend when they're doing all their endorsement deals.
Yeah.
The other cool part too is like the last time I went, which it's been a minute because I haven't gone. Obviously, COVID stopped the traveling for a minute, so it's been 5 or 6 years. I really wanted to go this year. Thanks, Chad. But I was in there, and in the tunnel in Thomas and Mack, they have a bunch of tents set up, little like. I guess tent is the word, but like makeshift rooms. And I didn't know what they were at first. And so I started asking around. Look, what they were taking all the rookies and bringing them in and doing their first face scans for NBA 2K.
Really?
Right. Oh. It's like it's one place where all the guys who were just drafted are going to be there.
Yeah.
So we can set it up and do all the face scans for NBA 2K. That's what it was.
That's
doing
awesome.
The face scans for NBA 2K. I know, and it was funny because they pulled aside Jim Taylor, who was the Trailblazers PR guy at the time, and they did a face scan of him just for the hell of it. And so if you're going through and you're picking a GM and you're going through all the random faces, you eventually run into the old Blazers PR guy, and you can have him as your. So it's like it's pretty cool fun.
That's insanely cool. I didn't know they did that.
Yes, it's an awesome time down there. So again, if you can get to NBA Summer League, absolutely get down there. Okay, now we've talked a lot about Summer League already, and we'll round back because we still got courtside and stuff tonight. But we haven't talked about the big news of the day, and that was the official news of Anthony Simons going to Boston in return for Drew Holiday. Again, that deal was reported about a week ago, but no deals were going to be official until July 6th. It could have been official, but we all knew that they were going to wait until basically the turn of the calendar, free agents could sign and basically make your books match up. Now, the initial deal was reported that was Anthony Simons and 2 second-round picks to Boston in return for Drew Holiday. That has since been tweaked to just Simons for Drew Holiday, no picks. Now, Aaron Fentress of the Oregonian reported that it was due to couple little red flags that may have popped up in his physical evaluation, that being Drew's, to where the Blazers went back to the Boston Celtics and redid the deal. But before we get to those red flags, what's your initial thoughts and your feelings on the Drew Holiday and the end of the Anthony Simons era?
Yeah, obviously, I mean, it was sad to see Anthony go, and he's been a staple for us since we drafted him. But at the same time, it's great to get those 2 seconds back. I mean, we moved back in the draft, and initially when I thought, I saw the trade go through, moved to the draft. We got the 2 seconds back and a future first. So I was like, okay, we got those back. Now to get these 2 seconds back and have 4 just from this offseason is pretty big and makes all the difference. And it makes the deal, seem better for us and show that we had some leverage as well throughout the deal and negotiating with the Celtics.
Yeah, it does. And here's the thing that I was telling Peyton about, and I was getting in some conversations with some Blazer fans who are worried now. They're like, okay, really? So we traded a guy who brought up red flags in his physical. I think here's the thing. So Boston obviously goes into the offseason needing to rework their books. The whole apron thing is starting to really wreak havoc on some teams, and you're seeing teams have to offload Boston needing to get out of the second apron, save as much tax money as possible. And so they look at 2 contracts in Drew Holiday and Kristaps Porzingis they can offload, right? So they end up doing a trade that was reported last week with Drew Holiday to Portland, and then they shortly thereafter agreed to a deal that sends Kristaps Porzingis to Atlanta. And they have to make everything work out financially, and they realize that this is going to help them. And I firmly believe that had they not been in second apron hell and needed to redo their books, that there would be no incentive to necessarily jump off of Drew Holiday and KP as fast as possible. Yeah. Right? Now, the Jason Tatum injury does change things a little bit because your outlook on the year may have changed, but those 2 guys help you win, right? So they don't need to get off those. But they did in this instance because they needed to fix their books. And again, the first deal to go down was Drew Holiday, and then all the other deals happen after that. So you look at the situation, if I'm Portland, if anything comes up, on a scale of 1 to 10, the concern level could be a 1.
Yeah.
I'm coming back to Boston and going, didn't really like what showed up in his ankle integrity. We want those picks back.
Yeah.
And if you're Boston, do you balk at giving 2 second-round picks back and possibly have your financial flexibility right back to 0 and have to restart the whole we need to find someone to move off of Drew Holiday?
Yeah.
Everyone else has already signed their free agents and this and that, so everyone who had space or the books were ready, like their books have already changed, so now it changes the landscape? Or do we say, you know what? Getting our finances is more important than those second-round picks, which we might be able to recoup down the line anyway.
Yeah.
We're just going to wash our hands of it. And that's how I view it. I think the Celtics are like, you know what? Too much money in the pot. I don't have enough. I'm folding. I'll wait till it comes back around and ante up later.
Yeah.
And that's what they did. So I'm not worried in the least that there was a red flag because I don't even know if the flag was that red.
Yeah.
Like it might have been a washed light pink, but under the right light it looks like a dark red.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so you played your hand, and I think this is the Blazers doing exactly what they should have done in this situation.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think that, like we had talked about before, it gets us in a situation where I think in all reality, like you said, Boston didn't necessarily want to get off of Drew. It just they had to because that second apron has been so strict for so many teams. But you look at what makes Drew Holiday, and it is something that deteriorates much less than an offensive game. His defensive game is something that's going to keep him as an asset of a player for the larger portion of this contract he has. So if it was a situation where we're trading for a guy who is offensive heavy and is going to come contribute offensively, I'm more worried about an individual who is on it with our team's current status, I guess, where we're trying to get these young guys all this playing time. A guy coming in who's offense heavy, I'm more worried about than a guy who's going to come in and says, it's Drew Holiday. I am still very much a defensive elite player. And he is, as a player, been hasn't played his best this last season, but the defensive numbers are still very much there. The offensive numbers are what people look at and say he wasn't this in the playoffs, he wasn't this great on Boston shooting wise, blah blah. But like the direction that the Blazers have chose to go is defensive minded, and he is somebody who's going to be an elite defensive player for us and hold the value that he has for an extended period of time. Like you said, I'm not necessarily worried about that. So yeah, I think that this makes, in the grand scheme of things, I think that this losing this or getting back those 2 seconds, I think it makes it just an overall clear win for the Blazers.
Yeah.
Clear win.
Yeah, they get those picks back. I still think there's value in Drew Holiday. And to your point, I mean, look at how incredibly important Al Horford has been to Boston. He's not a phenomenal offensive player anymore, but boy, howdy, does he still know how to bring it on the defensive end. Mm-hmm. Again, he has the intelligence, maybe not as quick as he once was, maybe not as agile as he once was, and he's far removed from 2012 and 2013 when he was averaging nearly 18 and 10 for Atlanta. Last year he averaged just 9 points and 6 rebounds and just under a block. But again, what he brings defensively might not show up in the box score, but he's still very, very valuable on that end, and so is Drew Holiday. And the crazy part is that people will look at Drew Holiday and say that he fell off. Well, just 2 seasons ago, he was second team All-NBA defense, finished 6th in Defensive Player of the Year. The year before that, he was an All-Star, first team All-Defense, 6th in Defensive Player of the Year. 2 years before that, same thing. In the running for Defensive Player of the Year, first and second team all league defense. Now, this year, you look at his numbers, he averaged 1.1 steal, 0.5 blocks. And again, those numbers, you can look at that and go, oh, that's not a ton. Well, Tumani Kamara, who was second team all defense, 1.5 steals, 0.6 blocks, right? So Drew Holiday, kind of right there, those numbers are very similar. And then you start looking at the advanced metrics and the defensive win percentages, the defensive steal percentages, all those things. And they start to paint this picture that numbers-wise, he's pretty close to Tumani Kamara, who, again, was second team all defense. The reason that Drew Holiday wasn't in the running or even considered is because he fell short of that new 65 game threshold that you got to play to be eligible for all your postseason teams and awards. He only played in 62, right? But again, you start looking at the numbers, and you're like, okay, he is still good. If Drew Holiday, as a shell of himself, is still a plus defender and is still one of the best defensive guards in the NBA. So that's where I think there's still value here. Drew Holiday has 3 years left on his contract, and I fully believe that he is not playing all three of them in Portland.
No, I agree.
I think you look at the trade deadline, there are going to be teams who are calling, who are, how do we get this deal done? How do we get him here? There is value in what he brings defensively. Again, as you said, offensively, yeah, he's not phenomenal anymore. He can still be relied upon, though, to get you a bucket, get you a score, which is good. But again, just like I brought up the numbers of Al Horford, I mean, you go back to 2018, 2019, New Orleans Pelicans, Blazers know that Drew Holiday very well, right?
Yeah.
He averaged 21 points, 7 assists, 1.6 steals, 0.8 blocks. And again, 1.6 steals, 0.8 blocks. This year it was 1.1 steal, 0.4 blocks. So are they down a little bit? Yeah. But he's still a very, very good defensive player.
Absolutely. And I think he's a guy that we already talked about this. There are guys who you bring in, and I'm not throwing shade on anybody specifically, but when you bring in a Russell Westbrook, I look at Russell Westbrook as a great player who doesn't really contribute to winning as much as a Drew Holiday does. I think Drew Holiday comes in and he does stuff off of the box score that contributes to winning heavily. So that's the positive that I'm really seeing. I think that with this move, we had kind of talked about this too. The Rockets took an approach where they brought in a super veteran guard in Fred VanVleet, paid him a lot of money to come and be there, and then they committed to the defensive end and let their young players develop. And I think that is what the Blazers are really trying to do. Bring in a defensive. This is different. Obviously, Drew's a defensive guy. Fred VanVleet's an offensive player. But both veteran guards with championship mentality and caliber and have been to the playoffs multiple times and can be the adults in the room to help lead the vets to a defensive-minded, culture. And what happened when the Rockets did that? They made a massive leap in wins, a massive leap in, just advanced statistics in general. And I think the Blazers could do that where they be, hey, we're going to be a top 10 team in defense this next year, but we may not have a, top 15 offense, which is okay, but It's a huge step forward.
Yep. And I just want to point out real quick. So last year, defensive win shares for Tumani Kamara, 2.6. Defensive win shares for Drew Holiday, 2.4. Win share per 48 minutes, so the estimate of how much value they're bringing to wins per 48 minutes played, 0.13 for Drew Holiday, 0.097 for Tumani Kamara. Now you also look at the defensive box plus minus. This is a box score estimate of the defensive points per 100 possessions a player contributed above a league average, et cetera, et cetera. Tumani Kamara was at a 0.8. Drew Holiday last year was at a 1.0. So when you look at the advanced metrics, there are certain metrics where he was slightly better than Tumani Kamara, a guy who we are praising day in and day out for his defense.
People are calling Tumani underrated right now.
Right, but then we look at Drew Holiday, who's putting up numbers very similar, if not better, in some advanced metrics, and we're saying he lost the step. He's washed.
Yep.
That's what I'm saying, is a shell of his former self. Drew Holiday still has massive value.
Absolutely.
What that means for the Blazers, we'll continue to talk about it because there's still plenty of time left here on your home of the Blazers, Rip City Radio, 620. Welcome back into the Rip City Drive. Chris Burkhardt here with you. If you want to join the conversation with us, 503-248-0620 is one way to do so. You can also go over to youtube.com, type in Rip City Radio, and join the chat there as well. Let's see where Kirk chimes in and says, Drew was better than Dame. Well, I mean, he was kind of in that one series. He put the entire defensive backcourt on lock. I don't know if I'd take him over Prime Dame, though. Prime Dame was pretty awesome. But also comes in with the he's a better asset. And that's the interesting part here is because I firmly believe that Drew Holiday is not spending all 3 years remaining on his contract here in Portland. I think come NBA trade deadline, there's probably going to be a lot of calls to that Trailblazers front office. I mean, Peyton and I were talking about, the teams that have gotten better than the Blazers this offseason who are right in the running with them. Like, you look at the standings last year, 9 through 12. Well, 9 through 13. Kings, Mavs, Suns, Blazers, Spurs in that order. Pelicans and the Jazz, the worst two teams in the conference. Now, the Pelicans, if they're healthy, could be better, but that's still a big if with all their question marks. The Jazz are all in on being worse than they were this year, right? Spurs, they got better. They definitely got better. They're going to get better just on the idea that Wembanyama is going to come back healthy, right? The Mavs obviously lucked in to being better with Cooper Flag. They're going to be better. Suns probably got worse. They probably got worse, and they were a dumpster fire towards the end of the year. And so Portland's kind of in that range. I think the Kings didn't necessarily get worse, but I don't think they got better, right? So the Kings are right there. There's room for the Blazers to move. But then you start looking at all the teams, too, and you look at a team like the Timberwolves. Okay, well, if they're realistically in the hunt, I could see where a guy like Drew Holiday would fit very well in that roster and basically a better version of Mike Conley at this point, right? The Clippers, they just got rid of Norman Powell, so they lost their guard depth, a guy who's good on both sides of the ball. I could see that. Yeah, I mean, you could see, I know Portland fan doesn't want to go make the Lakers better, but you can see the Lakers. You can see these teams looking at Drew Holiday as a way to get better. Cleveland, you could realistically talk about, hey, can we get a guy who can make some defensive stops? We kind of need that. That makes sense. I don't know. And again, I'm not talking about the pieces that fit in. I'm just seeing kind of where they're at. But the Knicks, another team, okay, the way they're defensive minded, that could fit in real well. Quite honestly, what about Milwaukee? I mean, they waived Dame. They need to figure something out. Maybe a reunion there. And then, I mean, again, you just start going down the list. How good is Orlando going to be? Yeah, they just went in on Desmond Bane. But again, could have Drew Holiday helped them? So you start to look at these teams that are going to be contenders or playoff teams, and there's going to be teams calling for Drew Holiday at the trade deadline. And again, as Peyton said earlier, that defensive asset of his is something that is going to sell no matter what. I think that's where the value is.
I agree. I think the exact same. I think that value deteriorates so much slower than someone who relies on that offensive game that that's something the teams need. Always. That's something the teams are always going to need.
Always. Absolutely. They always need that guy who can come in and get defensive stops. And as you and I pointed out, like, yes, you look at the numbers, and they're on par with a guy like Toumani Camara, if not better in some advanced metrics. So he's still very, very good on that. And even though by last year he had what many would consider a down year by his standards, but he still went out and showed out. So what the Blazers have in Drew Holiday, especially since it was just a straight 1-for-1, is I think they have an asset who, might end up moving on. And this is where you and I talked a little bit about, like, does he start or does he not? And I still think gut is telling me, again, we could all be wrong, but gut is telling me that Scoot Henderson will be your starter. Well, why would you put Drew on the bench? Because Drew doesn't need to start. Drew doesn't need any of that. Drew is going to make $35 million no matter what, right? And he has 3 years left on this deal with a player option, which I guarantee, like, no matter where he is at, he is picking that player option up because at 38 years old, when he hits the market, he's not signing a $35 million a year deal. It's just not going to happen.
No.
This is the last big fat contract he has. Maybe he's going to 39. He's going to sign a 3-year, $15 million a year or something. That's $20 million difference, right? So he's going to pick up that option no matter what. So for him, I think you look at this situation. If you're Portland, you go, here's the deal. We did you a solid when we first acquired you. We sent you to Boston. That's where you wanted to go. You won a championship. You were a key part of that. Okay? We helped you. Now it's time for you to help us. We know that you're not going to be here for the full 3 years. So we want to let Scoot be our guy because that's our point guard of the future. We want you to come off the bench. Okay? And if you do that for us, we're going to make sure we do you another solid. And that is when those teams that are playoff or championship contenders come a calling, if they give us the right deal, we're going to get you where you need to go. It's as long as it helps us too.
Yeah,
we're going to make sure we're not going to trade you. We're not going to trade you to Utah.
Yeah.
Okay. We're going to help you get where you need to go. If you do us this solid, we'll make sure we scratch your back one more time on the way out. And I think Drew Holiday, of all the players in this league, is professional enough to do that. And I'll tell you what, the Blazers posted a video today of him showing up at the practice facility. He gets out of the car, gives Joe Cronin a hug and a handshake, gives Billups a hug and a handshake, says hi and introduces himself to everyone at the practice facility. Sure looks like a guy that was pissed off he was traded to Portland, right?
Oh, yeah.
That was that narrative. Yeah. Oh, he's pissed. He doesn't want to be there. Yeah. Sure looked like it in the video.
Drew Holiday is so pissed.
Looked like a guy who understands the business, is very professional, and understands that, hey, he's got a job to do. He's going to come do it. He's going to treat Portland like anywhere else, and he's going to enjoy it until otherwise noted. And again, I don't think he plays the whole 3 years here. Maybe he plays the whole year here and is traded in the offseason. Maybe he's traded at the deadline. But there's value in Drew Holiday, and people are going to want him. And you know what? Maybe Portland outkicks their coverage, and they're the team that wants him because he gets them into the playoffs. All right, this is the Rip City Drive. 2 hours down, 1 hour to go. Right here on your home of the Blazers. Rip City Radio, 620. Yeah, it's 5 o'clock somewhere, and that 5 o'clock is right here in Rip City, where we are talking Blazer basketball all day long, because there was some news today. Drew Holiday officially a trailblazer as the Blazers sent Anthony Simons to Boston in return for the veteran point guard. However, news that there's a little amendment to the trade as Portland will no longer be sending 2 second-round picks to Boston. It is just Ant for Drew straight up. Also, the Miami Heat are acquiring Norman Powell from the Los Angeles Clippers in a 3-team deal that also sees John Collins go from Utah to Los Angeles. And hot off the presses, the Orlando Magic have signed star forward Paulo Banchero to a 5-year, $239 million maximum rookie contract extension. Could reach up to $287 million with incentives. Hour 3 of the Rip City Drive starts next. Welcome back into the Rip City Drive. Chris Burkhardt here with you. Getting down on the NBA trade talks here, having some fun. And obviously the Utah Jazz are wheeling and dealing. They just dealt John Collins out to Los Angeles, part of a 3-team deal. Norman Powell going to the Miami Heat. So shout out Miami. They finally got the former Portland guard they were looking for. And then Utah acquired Kyle Anderson and Kevin Love, as well as a 2027 Clippers second-round pick in the deal. So they're wheeling and dealing, which brings me to the question that has posed here in the YouTube chat where Adam asks, hey, I heard rumors a few days back that the Blazers are looking into Lauri Markkanen. Are you hearing anything? And the thing is, I'm not hearing much on the Lauri front, which is funny that you should ask that, though, Adam, because I was just talking to Peyton here, who's joining me today on the Rip City Drive, about how, okay, with what the Jazz are doing, they're going to have to likely unload Lauri Markkanen at some point, right? Now, they do need to keep him in the short term. Obviously, you have salary floors and all that stuff you have to hit, so financial reasons, it does make sense to keep him at the moment, but they're going to have to eventually offload him. He doesn't fit what they're trying to do in the long run. And so, yeah, I think they're going to be looking to move him. Now, the Portland connection is just a little bit odd to me, okay? I think at this point in time, obviously, you have not offloaded Jeremy Grant yet. And if you do go and acquire Lauri Markkanen, you're acquiring a guy who plays the same position as a guy like Denny Avdia, who you're trying to open the door for, right? In all likelihood, you want to have a starting lineup, the future that is Scoot, Shea, to Denny, and Donovan Clingan. At least that's what we believe. Maybe things pan out and it's to Denny and some future power forward. I don't know. But I'm just saying in the long run, it just doesn't make sense to go add Lauri Markkanen right now and his, his massive deal. He's making $42 million last year, $46 million this season, which is far more than what Jeremy Grant is even making, right? So I don't know if you're going to add that in. Because if you do add that in, where's he playing? Is he starting at center and you right back where you were in the DA situation where you Donovan Clingan and a guy who you just drafted at 16th and Young Hansen has no route to the floor because you got Lauri Markkanen? Is he starting ahead of Denny Avdia, who proved last year that he deserves that spot with the way he was used? He needs to be in that starting lineup. And I don't think you're committing $42 million coming off the bench right now, right? Especially in the long run. Like I said, Drew Holiday, if he comes off the bench, doesn't really matter. But if he's a bench player, it still makes sense to me because, again, you're going to be able to move off him. There's still a ton of value there. And as we said, I think that it's one of those things, hey, we scratched your back, time for you to scratch ours. And as an extra incentive, we'll scratch your back one more time on the way out and help you go where you need to go. And again, I think Drew's professional enough to deal with that. But again, if Jeremy Grant is behind Denny Avdia to start the season, there's a difference to me between $29 million on the bench and $42 million on the bench. Not to mention, if they get into all those cap situations, you don't really want to bring in $12 million off the top. It just doesn't work out. You're going to have to add other players to that. Do you want to add other players to that to bring in Lowry Markkanen and create those log jams? So again, I just don't think Lowry makes sense for the Portland Trailblazers right now.
Yeah, totally agree. Especially like you said, we have a guy in Denny who plays the same position and is probably on one of the most team-friendly deals in the league.
By far.
So it's something where you have an up-and-coming young guy who is, a fan favorite, become a very popular individual in the NBA and on a very team-friendly deal. Doesn't make a ton of sense to me.
Nope, doesn't right now. I think they'll move off of him at some point.
Yeah.
I just don't think Portland is in there. Maybe Portland is a team that helps facilitate some moves. Maybe I could see Portland getting in there and, hey, we'll send you Jeremy Grant. You send Lowry Markkanen to Team X. Team X sends us what we actually want. You've saved money in the long run. That helps you get where you want to go. Like, I could see something like that. I just don't see Lowry coming to Portland. I think if you're going to make some wheelings and dealings, like if you go trade Jeremy Grant, ideally, I think in an ideal situation, you're trading Jeremy Grant and you're bringing in two guys who are proven rotation players who match that salary. So how can I match that $29 million? Maybe it's a $15 and a $10 million guy, and it's a small forward and a power forward who are just rotation guys, long-term rotation guys that you can get in on. And quite frankly, one of those guys that I think Portland needs to be looking at right now, and Blazer fans jumped on this one quite quickly, is Corey Kispert in Washington. Washington picked up Cam Whitmore for a couple pennies. Everyone's like, oh my gosh, they got value in that guy because he's a good player with the high ceiling. He's been a headache.
Yeah.
Right. So Houston was like, we'll offload this guy, take him. And in doing so, it might have kind of closed the door on Corey Kispert there in Washington. And hey, you just did acquire a couple second-round picks, so maybe you can send those to Washington with a Jeremy Grant and whatever else you piece together to get in a Corey Kispert, who is a Washington-born, Washington-raised, went to Gonzaga. He is a Northwest kid, small forward, 6'7", 220 pounds, who went and shot 36% from beyond the arc last season, 2 makes on 5.4 attempts per game, gets you 3 rebounds, 1.7 assists. And again, he's more in that mold that you want from a guy. He's a career 38% shooter from beyond the arc. And the same reason you and I were talking about Caleb Love earlier, you just need a shooter.
Yeah.
You need someone to offset all that defense. You're still going to need someone that you can rely on to hit that corner 3 when you need it. So maybe Corey Kispert is the guy that they get in on.
Yeah, and he's still not a slouch on defense either. And a lot of people, too, that were also really looking for us or looking for the Blazers to make a move on Corey Kispert were the same people that I saw all over social media saying, how are the Blazers not in on the Cam Whitmore saga? How are they not, oh my gosh, it only took 2 seconds? Well, like you had talked about, he has been a headache in Houston, and also it was openly stated by the Houston Rockets that they chose where he went. They chose Washington for development purposes. They said that they got tons and tons of calls, so I wouldn't be surprised if we were a part of that.
Maybe Portland did. You're absolutely right. You don't know.
I think that they would be. I think they'd be smart to be a part of that. But at the end of the day, can't control what you cannot control what you cannot control. So if they're going to choose where he goes, what we're going to do is we're just going to look at that and say, how can we get better off of this? And I do think Corey Kispert's a great option for us.
Yeah, and there he is at $13 million that he's making. So it's quite frankly, if you wanted to, you could get to a point where you don't use your full MLE, which they got in offloading DeAndre Ayton. They have access to the full MLE, 14.1 mil to start. Right. And if they don't use it during the free agency period, that rolls into the season as a trade exception. Now, I don't think that's going to happen because we tend to not see trade exceptions used that often. Please tell me when you've seen that happen. You just don't. Right. But maybe it is a situation. Hey, we'll send you Jeremy. You send us Corey and Rashawn Holmes, who's making $13 million. Those 2 things match up. You're good to go. Things are feeling good. So I definitely think you get in on that. And maybe it is, hey, we'll trade you this trade exception and we'll send you these 2 second-round picks, whatever the deal. There's ways to get to them. And again, if you're Washington and you want to be terrible and you want tax relief, taking a trade exception would be pretty nice, right?
Yeah.
We'll send to that and you get money off our books. We wipe our hands. But I think that's a player that I'd watch out for, probably more so than Lowry Markkanen, Adam.
Yeah.
So I hope that helps.
And I think if Washington
answer your question.
Yeah, and if Washington wants to send us another player that's really good and we can make better, then totally open to that. We already totally won the Denny deal, so I'm down to totally win the Corey Kispert deal as well. And also, I think it's funny because I think now that we have had this conversation and we've had a parting of ways with DeAndre Ayton, I think I'm okay with getting quote unquote not as much value for Jeremy as people think that we should get.
Right.
I'm not upset with that. With his money situation and all the things going, like you said, if we need to attach picks to it, I'm okay with that. It's not something I'm going to really be angry about.
Yeah, I think, and value is all relative, right?
Yeah.
So the value in the Anthony Simons for Drew Holiday trade, and I know Blazer fans don't like hearing this, but to me, the value is not in getting Drew Holiday for Anthony Simons. It's what you're going to get for Drew Holiday either at the deadline or in the offseason. I think that's the value in the Anthony Simons trade. It's a yet to be determined.
Which is funny because in the NBA, that's how you have to think. It's almost like spending the money you're going to get for a check before you cash the check.
Right.
But that's how deals are done in the NBA. That's how it's always been. You have to do that.
Right. And
so in a perspective of a fan or a perspective of a casual watching the NBA, you're like, what are you doing? You have no leverage here. What's this plan going to be? Well, like you said, you have to be willing to spend that money before you cash it because that's how deals are done.
Yeah, and then the value in buying out Ayton, right? Oh, you didn't get anything in return. What you got in return was you got access to that full MLE without going into over the first apron.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
So it gave you room and gave you access to the full MLE, which is the full 14.1 to start.
Mm-hmm.
I think the max deal you can sign on that is like a 4-year, $60 million deal or something, because you can go 4 years max with 5% yearly increases, right?
Yeah.
It gave you that. And then on top of that, if you do use that, you stay below the apron. You don't have the worry about being in the apron twice. You get a better tax situation. Everything helps, right? So again, like we just talked about, a Corey Kispert type deal, maybe you can go do that if you turn that into a trade exception, and you wouldn't have had that had you not just decided to buy out DeAndre Ayton. Oh, the Lakers got him. We made them get better. Yet to be seen. I mean,
correct.
The Lakers, they got Luka. That's great. LeBron is 50.
Yeah.
DeAndre Ayton is going to look good for a few games, and then you're going to question if he's the right fit, right? So
he doesn't fix their problems.
Yeah.
They need a center who's going to anchor their defense, and DeAndre Ayton is not going to anchor a defense. He's going to be an awesome offensive player. He's going to make Luka look better. He's going to be the guy that they need on offense, but their problems are still going to be their same problems they had before.
Yep, absolutely. And again, and then Jeremy Grant. Again, I also think if you don't, there's the argument too, like you didn't take back a ton of negative value in Anthony Simons, and now that you got your picks back, that trade looks better.
Yeah.
Right. You just offloaded DA, saved $10 million off the bat. Right. He's going to be off your books now next year, which is going to help you a ton. I think next year you can head into free agency next year with like 55 mil.
55, yeah.
Right. If you do it, so you didn't take back negative value. You created future value and value right now. So I think if you do take back an air quotes negative contract for Grant, like you don't get the big stars in a first round pick or whatever you thought you were going to get.
Yeah.
It's okay because I think you made out pretty good on the other two deals. Now, if you would have said, okay, we're going to take a negative deal to offload Simons, we're going to take a negative deal to offload DeAndre Ayton, we're going to take a negative deal to offload Grant. You went negative.
That's bad.
Now you're in trouble.
Exactly.
But I still don't think you're going to take a negative deal to get off Grant. I think you're looking at that type of trade. Like I said, I just spelled one out for you. Again, I don't think that's what happens, but hey, I'll send you Grant. You send me Corey Kispert, Rashawn Holmes.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't really need the center depth, so maybe I'll find a way to just flip him quick and take 13 mil from somewhere else.
Yeah.
But again, there's value in a guy like Corey Kispert.
100%.
And if you do that deal, I think there's people who are okay with it.
Exactly. Overarching theme, too, is like this is what separates the Blazers from other teams like Utah is that making these moves gives them a direction. It shows what direction they're committing to the direction, and that's what, in reality, I've wanted for a long time from Portland.
Absolutely. All right, we're going to take a quick break here on the Rip City Drive. Plenty of more sports talk coming up here on your home, the Blazers, and your Hillsborough Hops. Got to throw that one in here. All here on the Rip City Drive. Welcome back into the Rip City Drive. Playing a little Ozzy and Post Malone for you. A segue of my musical taste and Peyton's musical taste. Very nice.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I appreciate making a
Shacker,
shouting out the young guys.
Shacker is 100% a metalhead, so he is not a fan of the Post Malone.
Fair enough.
I think Post Malone's all right.
Yeah. Me too, obviously, but I don't blame you. Music is probably one of the most subjective things
Have you
to
heard?
exist.
I stumbled upon. I'm gonna butcher this. I'm not young, but Gone, the rapper. You're listening to him?
Mm-mm.
Oh boy, he's got some tunes.
Really?
Again, I'm gonna play some for you during the break.
All right, good.
I've been listening to some stuff, my man.
Cool.
Expanding my horizons a little bit.
Sounds like
All right?
I will be too.
There you go. You're gonna have to do this. I know. It's like I was telling you, he's Shacker's like, new music sucks. I was like, I actually think new music's kind of good. And the reason I think that is because my daughters are getting into some newer music, right? As I told you, the Sabrina Carpenters and Dua Lipas they like to listen to. And I was like, oh yeah, that's like the Christina and Britney of our age, like our time, the hot young artists. And then my daughter's like, who's Britney Spears? I'm like, well, let me show you.
Yeah.
And I played a song and I was like, oh my God, this was popular.
Yeah.
This is. Have you seen that episode of South Park where they start to is it Stan or Kyle? I think it's Kyle. No, it's Stan. Trying to think. But anyway, where he starts everything starts sounding like crap, and he starts faking it. And Randy's doing the same thing. Like everything's just and he's sounds like
yes.
Oh yeah, I love this stuff. It's really good. And he's pretending.
Yeah.
It's I felt like that's how we did in the late 90s because, my gosh, going back, some of the late 90s music was awful.
Nostalgia is a crazy thing.
No, see, nostalgia should make it sound good. I go back. I am not standing for my musical era. I will tell you that much.
Yeah. I'm sure that I'll do the same thing for a majority of music that comes out now.
See, but I'm like you. I still I like older. I like music that predates me because I like Metallica and Led Zeppelin. I think the 70s might have been some of the best era for music with the bands like Zeppelin, right? Oh my gosh.
Yeah. It's funny how that works. I've always been an 80s kid. I love 80s music, but that also that creeps into the 70s. There's a ton of music from the 70s I love. There's music from the 90s I really love, but nostalgia can be a little bit blinding sometimes.
See, I think early 90s, mid 90s was better than late 90s, early 2000s. The grunge era, Pearl Jam, Soundgarden.
Yeah.
Alice in Chains. Now I'm speaking more Shacker's language. Like those guys. Speaking of that, Pearl Jam's drummer just left the band, just retired.
Interesting.
But yeah, Led Zeppelin. That's where it's at. 70s, 80s. I could do without hair metal. Those are Metallica. Metallica had hair, but they're not hair metal. That's thrash metal. There's a difference.
See, I don't know the subcategories of
Motley Crue's overrated. There, I said it. Cancel me. That made Shacker perk up. I don't know. Is he a Crew fan?
I like Crew without Vince Neil.
Okay, there you go. That's
They
fair.
have one album without him. It's great.
Is Tommy Lee a great drummer, or is he just a spectacle being in that thing that spins around?
He's a great drummer, and he's a great solo artist. Methods of Mayhem. Great music.
Get naked.
Oh.
That is a true song. Yeah, Methods of Mayhem. That's a good drop. I have not heard Methods of Mayhem.
It's a good shout.
I have not heard that name in a while. Methods of Mayhem, though, could also be a term used for the NBA offseason because there have been different methods and there has been lots of mayhem.
Wow,
Peyton.
I'm taking notes on that segue. I'm taking notes on that
segue king. I'm good at that. Okay.
That was awesome.
But what are your takeaways here? Let's start with the two teams that I think had the best offseason. And I think that is Denver and Houston. Getting Valanciunas, who the reports are he did reach out to professional team in Greece and wanted to go play with them if the NBA would buy him out of his contract. The Nuggets said, no way. We want you to fulfill your deal. We want you here. Good on them for flexing on him a little bit.
Yeah.
One thing they haven't had in a very long time is just a true backup big for Nikola Jokic.
Yeah.
Obviously, they had years of JaVale McGee. They had DeAndre Jordan. Both of those guys good at what they did, but just so drastically different from Nikola Jokic, as where Jonas Valanciunas, nowhere near what Nikola Jokic is, but just plays a similar enough style that you can take him out, sub him, and still run your sets and be like when you sub out Nikola Jokic for DeAndre Jordan, you completely change your offense.
100%.
Right? I think it's akin to the Trailblazers in that run in 2019. What made them hard to play against, hard to guard, and the fact that they were able to make the run after Nurkic had the unfortunate leg injury was that Enes Kanter played such a similar style to Nurk offensively.
Yeah.
Right? The pick and roll, hard picks, good roller, good at the rim, right?
Yeah.
And so it allowed your offense to not change too much when your starting center got hurt for the rest of the year.
Yeah.
You just went off without a beat. So they got Valanciunas. Getting Brown back is huge. The trade for Michael Porter Jr. to bring in Cam Johnson, who I think is a better fit for them, is great. They got Tim Hardaway Jr. on a super friendly deal.
Yeah.
Like that's a good one. And then obviously Houston getting Kevin Durant's massive, and then all the other moves they made. So reshoring up Steven Adams, getting Clint Capella to come back.
Yeah,
like they've shored up their front line too. Which again, look at Denver, Nikola Jokic and Jonas Valanciunas. Yeah, they have special skill sets, but just two big bodies, lumbering bigs, right? Look at what Houston just did. Steven Adams, Clint Capella, two big, giant centers, right? And what does Portland have right now? Young, but two
big,
giant centers.
Yeah.
Now, that's Portland related, though. I want to get your takeaway. Let's start with Denver and Houston. What are you thinking? How are you feeling?
I feel good. I think that Houston and Denver were two teams that were the closest to competing with Oklahoma City in terms of the West, and both of those teams took the biggest leaps to get better, specifically Denver, who took OKC to 7, obviously. But when you talk about, I really think about what has Jokic's MVP, what has been the talk around his MVP voting recently and his voters' fatigue is the on-off numbers. The on-off numbers also are drastically surrounded by the fact that what you talked about, they have no backup center. They have not a backup center to even the closest caliber of Nikola Jokic in a very long time. So when you have somebody, like you said, Jonas Valanciunas, not Jokic, not Nikola Jokic in the slightest, but you have a guy who's committed to a role. He's very good at specific things, and he can do those things at elite level. So if you have a guy that's willing to commit to a role, then you're going to be drastically better than a guy who loved DeAndre Jordan, loved him in Lob City, but he doesn't do the same things in the slightest like he talked about as Nikola Jokic. So it gives the offense consistency. It gives them a chance to maybe give a little bit more rest to Jokic because towards the end of that playoff run, he had to play so many minutes because they couldn't do anything with him off the floor. And so I like their ability to take that leap. The Cam Johnson move. Cam Johnson is on a very team-friendly deal. He's about $20 million a year, whereas they were going to have to pay Michael Porter Jr. $44 million, I believe, or $40 million a year. It was outrageous. So to get a guy who is incredible catch and shoot, 40+% from three, willing to take on that role. Now you're going to get less rebounding from Cam Johnson, which is going to be a minus. But at the same time, you have a guy who's going to bring a ton of energy, less health concerns, and is more consistent towards the team goal than Michael Porter Jr. was, who's still going to be a good player. But once again, when you look at the money, it makes a very, very it's plain and simple. Huge win for Denver, and they look to get way better going towards next season. And the funny thing is, too, if I'm Brooklyn, I'm also happy because I took on Michael Porter Jr., but I'm getting a 2032 draft pick where, cross my fingers, Jokic isn't going to be an MVP caliber player in 2032 if I'm taking a gamble,
I mean, that's a minute from now, right?
It is. And so, I mean, at least I'm getting a first that I can count on. It's just so far out. So Denver got incredibly better. Houston is another one where you bring on Kevin Durant. A lot of people think it's risky. I understand he's 37, going to be 38 years old, or something in that ballpark. But you have a guy who last year, I don't think he played enough games, but he averaged a smooth 27, 6, and 4. He gave a massive contribution to Phoenix. And also, you got rid of two guys who are great players, but Jalen Green is, like we kind of talked about with Caleb Love could be. He's a black hole sometimes. He sees only the rim. And so that's a guy who's a volume guy that you got off of. And Dylan Brooks, who wasn't a massive contributor. So you get significantly better. You let Amen Thompson run the show. You get Fred VanVleet to get a more team-friendly deal. And you get Kevin Durant.
Yep.
That's huge.
And then you re-up Jabari Smith, who I honestly thought was going to be a Blazer target.
Me too. I wanted him so bad
for depth play, but they re-up him, which I actually think is great for him because I think it just shows that even though his numbers haven't been incredibly stellar, I think it shows that Houston still has some faith in him to be. And I see a good basketball player in him. I definitely do. Obviously, Clint Capella and Steven Adams at center, and then an underrated move on top of everything they did is yes, they lost Dylan Brooks. But they replaced him with Dorian Finney-Smith, who is a very good two-way player too, and I mean has been his entire career. I mean, basically, been a great defender at times in Dallas. The 3-point shots come along, so I thought Houston had a great offseason, as did Denver. Atlanta has done their best to make some moves as well around Trae Young. They get Nickeil Alexander-Walker, Kristaps Porzingis, and Luke Kennard. However, they did lose guys like Clint Capella and Karis LeVert and a couple others, but they made some good moves. I think Kristaps is he's been good. He was good in Dallas. He was good in Washington. Great in Boston. Dealing with a couple different health issues as he always has, but when healthy, he makes a difference. Yeah. So they've been good. And I think the other team, quite frankly, that is going to in the right spot at the right time, an opportunity to take advantage of everything in front of them. And that's Orlando. Obviously, they just re-upped Paulo Banchero. They re-signed Mo Wagner, but then going in and getting Desmond Bane, which is exactly what they needed. A guard who can score, and more so. I thought Anthony Simons was a great fit for them, but the difference between Simons and Bane is a better defender. Yeah, and they need that, and they can strike while the iron's hot here because obviously the Bucks are down, no Dame. They're readjusting to everything. Obviously, they had to waive Dame to free up the space to sign Miles Turner, and I am sorry, I don't know what they're doing. I don't think Miles Turner and Giannis as your core two is the answer.
No,
I
think financially it doesn't make sense either.
No, but. And Miles Turner was great as a pacer. Should have probably been a lifelong pacer. He was good during the playoffs when they faced the defense and the pressure of Oklahoma City. He could not do anything offensively in those finals.
No, not at all. And speaking of the Pacers, I think that's another team where they're going to be down. It is confirmed that Tyrese Halliburton's out the whole entire year. So if I'm Orlando, I'm going to strike while the iron's hot. And I think that I talked about this too, but when in terms of the Dame saga, and I don't want to pivot too much, but in terms of the Dame saga, I saw it as an opportunity where, like, if I'm Orlando, I see us as the third best team in the East potentially. I know that the Cavs are going to be just as good as they were.
Yep.
The Knicks are going to be up there. They got better. They got Jordan Clarkson, which is a move, for their depth.
And just official Mike Brown as their new coach.
Yep, Mike Brown is the new coach, which is going to help their offense. But I see Orlando competing with New York if everything goes right, and if Dame has talked about being ready for a playoff run of some kind or in that realm. If I'm Orlando, hey, we're the third best team in the East right now, second best team in the East, and we're trying to make a big playoff push. Dame, come jump and give us some more offense if you can, stuff like that. So, but that's obviously something I just kind of thought of. But I agree. I think Orlando is an awesome team right now in terms of the East, with it being a down year for Indiana, Milwaukee, those other teams, Boston. They're going to take a step back, so it's open.
Maybe Indiana wants Drew Holiday as a stopgap. Something to think about. I also think if you look at the standings, Peyton, you brought up the East. Obviously, the Cavaliers are going to be good again, right? The Knicks, I think, will be good again, right around that 50 wins. Boston's going to take a step back with Tatum out. They're still going to be good, but they're going to take a step back. Indy's going to take a step back. Bucks are going to be interesting. I mean, when you have Giannis, you have potential, but I don't know if they're going to be close to that 50 win. Orlando's going to be better. Detroit, I think, is going to continue to be built and be better.
I think so too.
Miami, meh. Hawks, they got better, but we'll see. The dark horse right now is Philly. A healthy Paul George, a healthy Joel Embiid, obviously a great Tyrese Maxey, and I think VJ Edgecombe has the ability to make some noise his rookie year. Mm-hmm. Like that's a dark horse team who's going to be night and day better.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think it's the problem is you see when I look at the Eastern Conference standings, I see like you said, Cavs, Knicks, Orlando, Atlanta, Boston. And then when I get to Philly, I just have so many question marks.
Oh, so do I.
Because you have so many. And you have so many questions because you think like last year Embiid was getting recommendations to medically retire. Like he legitimate recommendation to medically retire. So I could see them coming out and being hot, and Paul George getting back to something relatively close to what he was 2 years ago, and Tyrese Maxey I love. But yeah, it's such a coin toss with that team.
You look at the teams who got better, and then let's look at the teams who got worse. Utah, who was the worst team in the West last year. Departures: Johnny Juzang, John Collins, Colin Sexton, Jordan Clarkson. Colin Sexton
about that too.
Colin Sexton, good player.
Good player.
Like I said, he's in that same tier with me with Ant. I don't know how much you're going to get from him, but he's a good player.
Mm-hmm.
Jordan Clarkson, certified bucket.
Yeah.
John Collins, I was adamant in Atlanta he just needed a change of scenery. I thought he put up some pretty good numbers in Utah when they trusted him. Their additions: Kyle Anderson, Kevin Love, and Yusuf Nurkic. I mean, when you want to talk about tearing this thing to the ground to get as many assets as you can in the long run, because they've got a ton of picks with all these deals,
you're in the basement.
Boy, howdy do they get worse.
Yeah.
Yusuf Nurkic is a probably, I mean, he's fringe starting center right now, but he's more of a backup big, rotation big probably.
Absolutely.
Kevin Love is a ghost of his former self, not even a shell. Like, he's a ghost. I mean, he can still hit the three and contribute a little bit, but he's not what he used to be.
No.
Kyle Anderson has his ups and downs, his pluses, his minuses, but I mean, he's not a mega star, and he's not moving the needle for a team like Utah. No. He's a great rotation player on a team who's trying to make the playoffs, but like that team got massively worse. Like, I mean, it's just that's a weird one to me when you look at that. I think the other team too that got in, they got better without even trying that hard is San Antonio.
So much better without it. And that's the hard part for me, as we talked about Mavericks and the Spurs, where the teams surrounding the Blazers in the standings last year, and the Blazers massively outperformed their preseason stand. They were predicted 18 wins and got 36. That's a massive win for the Blazers. But the teams that ended around them were San Antonio and Dallas, who both literally luck of the draw got massively better.
Yeah, I think obviously Wembanyama comes back healthy. That's huge. Luke Cornett, good pickup. Also, shout out to him. Like, way to endure your fans. He went. Do you see he went with number 7?
Yeah.
And they asked him why. And he said,
"Yeah,
I want to be. I want to be a third as good as Tim Duncan."
Which is awesome.
Well played.
Yeah.
And then I honestly think, just on the outside looking in, well, it will all play out. But I think getting Harper and Bryant, I think that was an A+ draft.
A+.
Like
A+.
And then you pair that with the obviously De'Aaron Foxes that they have, and the Jeremy Sohans, and
Devin Vassell. Yeah, like that.
That's
group.
a good team.
It's a really good
That's
team.
a good,
it's a really
young
good
team.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that is, you hate to say it because the Spurs tend to have success. Well, but like that's the next OKC.
Yeah.
They are built in that exact same model, built from with it. And ironically enough, Chris Paul was at the start of the OKC rebuild too.
Ironically, yeah.
But that's the next OKC right now.
No, I totally agree.
Hopefully Portland can continue to build on that too.
Yeah.
All right, going to take a little break. We'll be right back. Plenty more coming up on your home of the Blazers, Rip City Radio 620. Welcome back into the Roof City Drive. Chris Burkhardt here with you. Shacker, we need to get the engineers on the YouTube stream. They complain that when we go to commercial, the music is too loud. I said, I can't fix that. That's internal. That's a Joe thing. Get him on it.
I should just make you louder. Then you'll match the music.
There you go. Make me louder. Blow the speakers out with these beautiful tones of mine. We'll have some fun. Tell you, when we go to break on YouTube, it just automatically plays music. Shacker doesn't even run the board, just automatic. It's all behind the scenes, internal engineer stuff that I don't even know how to do. If I tried to fix the audio for you, I would bring down the entire system. iHeart would just crumble, and be my fault. I'd be on the most wanted list. Don't want that. I enjoy this show. All right, before we get out of here on the Real City Drive, Courtside coming up next, where Peyton and I are going to focus on the Blazers and rehash some of these talking points we had. But I know you. I haven't had a chance to talk to you about this. I know you. I know that probably the worst day of your life was a couple months ago when Dame crumbled to the floor with a ruptured Achilles. I know that you are as much of a Dame fan as there is, right?
Yeah.
But I do think, as I tweeted out, it just sucks. It's a tough situation. Tears the Achilles. They waive him. People are like, oh, the NBA is cold. He's still getting his money, right? They waive him. He's going to get $20 million a year for the next 5 years. He's not losing a penny. It's not as if they're turning their back on him. He's still going to get to rehab and do all that stuff. But he gets to do it on his own terms. Now he gets to come back to Portland. If there are reports that he wanted to rehab in Portland with his family and the Bucks didn't like that, that is, if that's true, that is an awful look on Milwaukee.
Yeah.
Like, let him go rehab with it and be close to his kid and all that if he's not going to be playing. Give him his regiment, all that stuff. Now he gets to rehab how he wants and be back when he wants. Opens the door for him to sign where he wants now, so he gets the benefit of that.
Yeah.
It's just the tough part of, like, seriously, this did not – his idea was he's going to go in. Him and Giannis are going to be great together. They're going to win a championship, and they were great together. The rest of the pieces didn't fall, and it ends with him being waived. But now he gets to sign anywhere he wants. Now, unlike Halliburton, we don't know if he's going to be available at any point during the year.
Yeah.
He might be. Very well, he could be. But who's going to be interested in what he signs for is the question. So on the outside looking in, where do you want Dame to play, and where do you think he plays?
Where do I want him to play? Well, selfishly, I'd like him to go to somebody who's going to compete for the championship. If he goes to somewhere, I'd like it to be – I also want it to be a place that makes sense. Like we were talking about earlier, I want it to be maybe in Orlando, where he can come in and bring offense to their team. They're a great defensive team. They just brought in Desmond Bane. But also another place that I've really thought about is – I don't love this, but maybe Denver. Maybe he goes to Denver and with Russell Westbrook not coming back, takes on that backside guard or the backup guard position, and can definitely win a championship there. I mean, with Russell Westbrook and with that team being, quote unquote lackluster, they took OKC to 7,
right,
which was great, and they obviously have the best player in the league in Jokic. And another thing I saw was Minnesota. I thought that'd be pretty decent too. It's just, there's certain teams where I think he should, and then there's also other teams where I selfishly don't want him to go. I've heard a lot of rumors about Golden State, which I get. He's from Oakland, makes sense back home, stuff like that. I don't necessarily think that pushes them into a contender tier. I've also heard about Miami, which I don't think that pushes them anywhere close to a contender tier. And then I've heard Portland, but also I think that Dame is not at a point in his career yet where he's ready to take a full backseat role.
No, I think because even if he's hobbled a little bit, he's still a starting caliber guard.
100%. Right now. And although I do see him finishing in Portland, I see him finishing his career in Portland.
As do I.
I just don't think that this is the timing of that. So that's really kind of my thoughts been about it, and I'm
I would say the Golden State thing would be more about the fit. The whole returning home is not a thing anymore.
Yeah.
He was asked about that when they came to Chase Center that first year about, what's it like to be back home? And he was like frank about it. He's like, this ain't home. This ain't Oakland. This is San Francisco.
Yeah.
Home is on the other side of the bay. Like this is not the same vibe coming back. And so it's not the same for him. Denver would feel weird just because some of his best games and crazy series came against Denver.
Yeah.
But I do think it's a great match. Especially if maybe he comes back and signs a deal where, hey, I'm ready if he's ready in February or March and wants to come back just for 1 year play and then go hit free agency again. Denver makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
That's a great one. At this point in time too, quite frankly, like again, you'd have to be playing backseat, which is not necessarily what he wants to do. But one thing New York's going to need is a scoring punch.
Yeah.
Give him another little punch to go out there with. Obviously, they got Jordan Clarkson, but things like that make sense. I think the most logical spot, quite honestly, though, where he can come in, he can be the starter and might, help them get into the playoffs and be good this year, and will definitely help them when their star returns. No one wants to hear it, but it's Boston.
Yeah.
It's Boston.
Yeah. I've seen it, and I like it. That was among the other teams. I mean, I've heard LA. I've heard the Lakers. I've heard some other places too, and they never really clicked for me.
Yeah.
But Boston was another one. Boston was another one that made sense to me.
Yeah.
That I was just like, it just doesn't look right.
I don't know if the Lakers make as much sense now that they have Luka and he is
totally agree.
He's the point guard.
Yeah, absolutely.
But you can run a team out there with Dame, Brown, and Tatum.
Yeah.
Watch out.
Yeah.
Again, even if Dame is a shell of his former self, you got a guy of Jaylen Brown's caliber.
Yeah.
And Jason Tatum.
Yeah.
It's going to be nice.
Yeah. And like you said, even if it's a shell of himself, like that's a guy who you can't leave open. You have a, plethora of defensive players that can cover his back. That was one where I saw and it did absolutely make sense. I was just like, just feels icky. Feels icky. But
and Adam chimes in on the YouTube chat as he says, and I agree with this one wholeheartedly, and I think every single Blazer fan does too. Nothing would hurt more than to see Dame in purple and gold.
Nothing. No.
Nothing.
Yeah. No.
Like if he signed with the Lakers as a free agent right now, that would hurt more than him requesting a trade and going to Milwaukee.
Correct.
Because the Lakers may not view Portland as a rival or anything, but for Portland, the rival will always be the Lakers. Forever and for always.
100%.
It will be the Lakers.
It's in my blood.
Yes.
Like there's something about me where I hear like I just can't
beat LA.
100%.
Right? The Kobe lob to Shaq lives in our nightmares.
Yeah.
Forever.
Yeah.
So seeing Dame in those colors, like DA in those colors doesn't hurt.
No.
Jeremy Grant in those colors wouldn't hurt.
No.
Dame in those colors would be terrible. Now, I do think, again, outside of the whole, I think the whole returning home thing is overblown, but Golden State makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
A lot of sense.
Yeah.
All right. Well, hey, thanks for joining me on the Rip City Drive today. 3 hours of radio. You're a stud. But guess what? We're not done. We're not done because I have Courtside Monday next, and then Peyton's going to stay with me. We're going to focus on, obviously, the departure of DeAndre Ayton, the draft of Young Hansen, and Summer League, which starts in just a few days. So the Rip City Drive may be wrapping up, but Courtside Monday coming at you. Another hour of Blazers talk around the corner here on Rip City Radio 620. And everyone else, I'll be back tomorrow, 3 to 6. Sean Hyken will be joining me in studio at 5 o'clock to get you ready for Summer League as well. Courtside Monday coming up next on your home of the Blazers, Rip City Radio 620. Welcome back into Heavy Metal Mondays here on the Rip City Drive. Courtside Monday. Chris Burkhardt here with you, getting you up to speed on everything Portland Trailblazers. Last time we talked, it was heading into moratorium time, right? We had just heard the news that Blazers were getting ready to trade Anthony Simons. Actually, I think that news happened about an hour or so after the show ended, because everything's happened over the last 2 weeks. Literally, everything news breaking for the Blazers has happened after the show ended. So I might be your good luck charm. I would probably look for news around 8 o'clock that the Blazers either traded Jeremy Grant or traded for Corey Kispert or have got Jonathan Kuminga on board or something crazy, because the last 2 weeks that has been what's happened after Courtside Monday. I'm waiting for the news to break during the show so we can just have something to talk about. But instead, we get to talk about what's happened over the last week or so. Obviously, that Drew Holiday stuff that we'd been talking about, that became official this morning. That's right. Finally official. Took a little bit of time there as the Celtics were getting all their ducks in a row and make sure everything was planned out. But there was a little bit of a surprise as the reported 2 second-round picks that Portland was sending to Boston are no longer part of that deal. That deal is a 1-for-1. Anthony Simons to Boston, Drew Holiday back to Portland. And I think that's a pretty good deal for your Portland Trailblazers. Also, the draft acquisition there with Young Hansen, as well as signing Caleb Love as an undrafted free agent. We'll get to see them here in just a few days when Summer League kicks off for your Portland Trailblazers on Friday down in Las Vegas. But joining me today, before we get to all that, on Courtside Monday, friend of the show, you probably heard him for the last 3 hours if you were listening, and you've heard him here on Courtside before, my man Peyton Davis. Peyton, thank you for joining me here on Courtside Monday.
Thank you for having me. No problem at all. You gave me a text, and I drove straight here, so I wasn't hesitant at all. I was always excited to be on the show. Always get excited when you call me, text me, ask me to just, banter about whatever, NBA, college video games.
Hey, it's like Chad. Chad will text me, and he's like, "Hey, what are you doing tomorrow? You think it?" Yes,
exactly.
I'm there.
Take advantage of the opportunity. That's it.
I am there.
Yeah.
So. Well, let's get right to it. Let's talk about that Drew Holiday deal. That one became official this morning. As I said, the Blazers don't send the picks out to Boston. So now I think it looks a little bit better. When they did originally make the trade on the draft, right, where they traded back from 11 to 16, they got a future first-round pick. They grabbed second-round picks, and they ended up getting a Young Hansen in that deal. Everyone was like, oh, sweet, they recouped the second-round picks that they sent to Boston. Everything's all right. Well, now they didn't recoup the picks. They got extra picks because they didn't send any to Boston to begin with. So what are your thoughts on the deal and how this Drew Holiday thing is going to play out?
I think it shook out the way that it shook out. Ended up just making the Blazers a clear winner. I think we talked about this during Rip City Drive, but it was one of those things where I loved watching the Blazers create leverage through this situation and really, act as a, organization that has a path that they really want to follow. So when you look at the medical report for Drew Holiday, it says that there was some red flags. I'm sure that it really could have been very little red flags. It could have been that Drew Holiday came to the arena and stubbed his toe, walked into the practice facility, and
could have been.
You go back to Boston and you say, hey, we're taking on this contract for Drew. Based on the medical report, we don't love everything we're seeing. And if you're Boston, are you really willing to fight over those 2 second-round draft picks when you've already offloaded Kristaps Porzingis? You've already done some other things at this point. A lot of other teams have gotten their free agents or made trades, so it's going to be much harder to then get rid of Drew's contract. And so it was great to see. It made Portland a clear winner in this trade, and made their offseason look better in my eyes.
Yeah, absolutely. It was like I was telling you, in this situation, Portland has a little bit of leverage to play hardball, right? Because obviously Boston was going through with the Porzingis deal, and they were on this Holiday deal. They were trying to rewrite their books a little bit because the second apron was just wreaking havoc on them.
Yeah.
And both deals made sense. I will say it now, and I'll say it again, is that I fully believe that had they not been completely handicapped by the apron and needing to reset their books, they probably wouldn't have traded those two. Maybe one of the two, but they probably wouldn't have even done that because those are two valuable pieces that help them win a championship, right? And you don't want to get rid of that if you don't have to, but they need to reset those books and help them out the best way they could. Obviously, you're not moving off of Brown and Tatum in that situation.
No, yeah.
So you got to figure out what you got to do. Those two guys were just a casualty of the second apron. And then in that situation, Portland does their physical on Drew Holiday. And if anything comes back, it could be a dang hangnail for all I care. They're going to make that seem worse than it is. They're going to go back to Boston and say, hey, this red flag came up, so we'll still go through with the deal if you give us back those seconds. It's just a swap. And then Boston goes, okay, our two options are A, we play hardball, we tell them no, and then we're right back at square one because they deny it. And now we have to find a new partner for Drew Holiday, and it becomes infinitely harder because teams have already signed free agents and their books are different than they were 2 weeks ago. Or we just continue to go through with this. We say, okay, don't take the picks, take the cap relief, and we're in a better spot. And I think that's what happens here. Like I said, this is like akin to poker. Portland had a hand. They played it hard. Boston was like, you know what? I don't have a ton of chips right now. I'm trying to rebalance my chip stack. I'm going to fold here. I'm going to wait till the blind comes back around. I'll ante back up here in a few hands, and that's what they did. So Portland played it perfectly, quite frankly.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not worried about an injury in the least.
No, not at all. Not at all.
He's going to be ready to go. I think you're fine.
Yeah.
I think you're absolutely fine.
Yeah.
Now, the question is Drew Holiday your starting guard in late October, early November, whenever your season opens? Or is he your backup to Scoot Henderson? That's the question.
Yeah. See, in my eyes, and once again, we talked about this, could be totally wrong. This was the opportunity, and these were the moves that we made to give Scoot the keys.
Yep.
That's what we did.
And I tweeted that out the minute it happened. And I got called out. People were like, you really think this opens the door for this means he has the keys? Drew Holiday's your starter. It absolutely means he has the keys. Even if Drew Holiday is the starter, it still means you have chosen your path to be Scoot Henderson and not Anthony Simons, because I wholeheartedly believe that Drew Holiday is not going to be here for all 3 years of his contract.
I totally agree. And I think that's what all of these moves for the Blazers look at to me, is they have committed to a direction. And that's something that I can say is wholeheartedly a positive.
Yep.
And this move specifically, like you said, even if he doesn't come off the bench, even if Scoot's the one coming off the bench, Drew starts, this is the decision that had to be made. This was the decision that was going to determine if you handed the keys to Scoot or not. So we already made the decision, regardless of Drew's coming here. We had already made the decision. This is our direction, because whether Scoot starts or not, I think Drew gets his 25 plus minutes, whether he starts or not.
Right.
He's going to play significant amount of minutes. So I think that this move, just no matter what happens, this was the direction you chose, was to give Scoot the keys fully. And Shaden too. But I mean, obviously Drew and Scoot play the same position. So Scoot.
Yeah, and shout out to Adam Smits here in the comments on YouTube. You can go over to youtube.com, type in Rip City Radio, get in on the chat as well. First off, I'm backtracking, and Rachel's picking on Chad for taking a vacation. But Adam says, I like Chad, but I like Chris too. He's a real one. Thank you. Thank you for thinking I'm a real one. I'm not AI. I'm totally real. Okay, and I'm a real one. I know what you mean there. I'm here to have fun. We're here talking Blazers, but Adam brings up some good points. He says Cronin just needs to make one or two more savvy moves to complete what has already been a great offseason. And the reason I agree with Adam on that is people knocked the Anthony Simons trade. People absolutely kind of crucified waiving DeAndre Ayton. But I'm sitting here looking at those, okay, like maybe you didn't get the return you wanted for Ayton. Maybe you wished you could have got something different for Anthony Simons, but all you clamored for all year long was open the door for Donovan Clingan, open the door for Denny Avdia, open the door for Scoot Henderson. You did that. Two of those three things you have done.
Yeah.
Now, can you get off Jeremy Grant and completely open the door from Denny? If you do that, you have had a great offseason. Your return may not have been what you wanted, but as I said to you earlier, the return you got for Ant is not Drew. It's what you're going to get for Drew that's going to impact you in the long run. That's going to be important.
Yeah.
Your return for Ayton may not have been players. Your return was the ability to have access to the full mid-level exception, which at this point you have not used, but that could turn into a trade exception if that's not used here in the offseason. And even so, it freed up a lot of space between you and that first apron that you can continue now to make some trades and get some stuff done, right? It opens up the door for you to maybe go get a Corey Kispert if you want to go get him, right?
Yeah.
So the moves are there. So I'm with you. It's just a few moves away. And then Adam also brings up another good point, and that's the fact that he hopes that Drew plays off ball a little bit more. The big difference between him and Ant is the fact that Ant is just so ball dominant. Drew plays well with the ball in his hand. Drew does not have to have the ball in his hand, which now allows you to run your offense exclusively through Denny and Scoot Henderson, which is, I believe, what the team wants to do.
100%. And that's a skill he really excelled at in Boston. He was like, I know that there are guys on this team better than me offensively. What am I going to get really good at? I'm going to get really good at finding open space on the perimeter and shooting the ball. And that's exactly what he did. He got really good at that. And I can see him doing the exact same thing again. And like you said, this was a move where all that the Blazers asked for all year was, we have these young guys, and we're not using these young guys. Anthony is taking 20-plus shots a game while Shaden needs to be getting more shots. Scoot needs to be getting more shots. These people get, everybody needs more shots. They did exactly what you wanted them to do in terms of, and I think that the big reason that this is kind of wrapped in a cloud of we're not doing enough or we could get more is, like we've talked about so many times, the teams that were around us in the standings just happened to, luck of a draw, get so much better that the moves we're making that we asked for don't look as big because those teams got so much better through things that were not in our control. So that's what I'm really trying to look at is, have we done the things that the fans and, NBA watchers have asked them to do that's in their control? And I think that the Blazers have done a lot of things that we've wanted them to do that is in their control as an organization.
Yeah, and even more so, too, like I said, if the value in the Ant trade is what Drew gets you if you trade him, there's also value in Ayton. It's not necessarily in the short term, it's obviously the MLE and what that could turn into as a trade exception, even though everyone makes a lot about the trade exceptions. How many trades have we seen historically are like, oh, player X got player Y and all they did was use their trade exception? You don't see that a lot.
Not very often,
because teams want some sort of value. But the fact that you could open up close to $55 million or something like that in next offseason,
it's huge,
which is good because you're going to have to pay Ant, you're going to have to pay you're going to have to pay Scoot, you're going to have to pay Shea if they hit like you want. You're going to have to pay Tumani Kamara at some point. The dude's making $2 million. And he's been a cornerstone for you since he arrived. You're like, yeah, I like that guy.
Absolutely.
So you need that money, and you've opened up that flexibility. So yeah, if you can get off Jeremy Grant, then you're even better in the long run. But right now, you've done the things that you want to do. Not too bad.
Not too bad.
Not too bad at all. Like Tall Tim says, waiving a guy with 1 year left is a whole lot better than Dame or Beal with multiple years.
Yeah,
that's true. The rule in the CBA is if you can, the whole waive and stretch thing is it's double the years remaining plus one. So Dame had 2 years remaining on his deal. One was a player option, but they still count those 2 years. Double that to 4, add 1. That's why he is stretched over 5 years.
Yeah.
22 mil over 5 years. That's a big old chunk of money, right? DeAndre, if you would have stretched him, it would have been the 35 mil would have been a 2+1. So you would have been at $10 million for the next 3 years.
Yeah.
I think getting off that, still getting access to the MLE and just having $25 million on your books for 1 year and then you're done, definitely beneficial.
Definitely.
All right, we're going to take a quick break here on Courtside Monday. When we come back, we're going to shift our focus off of Drew Holiday for a second. We're going to shift our focus to Viva Las Vegas. Why? You know why, but we'll tell you why after the break here on your home of the Blazers, River City Radio, 620. Michael Shacker talking about the epic security fail that was the Post Malone Jelly Roll concert. You see that stuff?
No.
Like, people missed the entire opening act because security was so bad, taking forever to let people into Providence Park.
What?
Like, people were missed the opening act, almost missed part of, like, the beginning parts of the show because, like, it was like horror stories. And it's like, if you've ever been to Providence Park, makes sense. It is a pain in the butt to get through that into that stadium sometimes.
yeah.
One metal detector. One.
They had one
One?
metal detector. Oh my gosh.
You're kidding me. I actually went to my first Timbers game a couple weeks ago with my dad, and it was I was shocked at how long it took me to get in there, but I was like, oh, this is a fluke, this is one time thing, whatever. Apparently not.
Oh, it took me forever when I covered it. When I covered the Timbers, like, the media entry was just like a generic, like a regular entrance. As we're like, the entrance at a Blazer game is a specific media entrance. Only media goes through there.
Yeah.
So I walk in, it's just boom, right to the security. I'm in. The security at Providence Park was a fan entrance, and it was the same fan entrance that the visiting team uses.
Oh.
So, like, I would show up like 2 hours before, and like there's just a line of people, and it's just like, great.
Yeah.
Like, this is stupid.
You're kidding.
If you're
me.
gonna have these big summer concerts, man,
You
ooh
gotta
boy,
step it up.
hey, they're gonna be in trouble when that
Abs-
baseball stadium comes. Summer concerts all day long.
True.
Or are they gonna put them out in Hillsboro? They've already, they want to get on that. So.
Yeah.
All right, time to talk a little Viva Las Vegas here on Courtside Monday. If you want to join the conversation, 503-248-0620 is the telephone number. You can also go to youtube.com, type in Rip City Radio, join the conversation there. And as always, you know where to find me on the social medias. Chris J. Burkhardt is the name. Peyton Davis PD something.
Davis PD 03.
That's right.
Yeah, exactly.
That's right. Follow him. He's becoming TikTok famous. He's got like 150 followers. Watch out.
150, watch out.
That's more than me.
You watch out, everybody.
I haven't dedicated to TikTok yet. I don't know its future.
I don't either.
Like, it's hard to dedicate to it. And you're like, if it could get shut down, I need to know.
Apparently, they're making a U.S. version.
I saw that.
Yeah.
I saw that. And then it will last for a few years. And then it'll, it'll be the next thing that will come out in social media. It's
True.
always changing,
Evolving.
my friend. But the more things change, the more they stay the same, just like Las Vegas. The thing is always changing. A volcano is going to turn into a guitar. The Mirage is now going to be a hard rock. It's always changing, but at its core, Vegas is Vegas, baby. And you know what else has changed? Not just the Strip, but Summer League. It used to be just a few teams down there. No one really went. And now it is a massive event down there at the Thomas & Mack Center, home of the UNLV basketball team. And Summer League in Las Vegas does start on Thursday. Your Blazers, however, their first game will be on Friday against the Golden State Warriors. They will then play again on Saturday against the Memphis Grizzlies, Tuesday against the Pelicans, and then Thursday against the Houston Rockets. Those are all late games too. 8 o'clock, 7:30, 7 o'clock, and 5 o'clock, respectively. But a good note is that all of these games will be broadcast on KUMP as well as Blazer Vision if you have Blazer Vision, which is huge because sometimes Summer League, you don't get a broadcast. Sometimes one game will be broadcast. Now, all four of them are going to be at your disposal. I know I'm going to be watching because I'm sure, like most of you, I'm very, very eager to see what Young Hansen looks like coming in, Blazers' 16th overall pick out of China. He's looked good in the videos that we've seen. Of course, we've only seen him pretty much one-on-one, taking some threes at the practice facility after practice. But his highlight tape is good, and now it's just time to finally see him. And I know you're excited to see him as well as Caleb Love. But really, what are you looking for here in Summer League here in a few days?
Yeah, I'm just excited to see what he looks like, in live, in real time on a basketball court. I know a lot of the highlights that they released when he got drafted were all from the Chinese Basketball League, where he had played the last 2 years, won a couple of awards, Rookie of the Year and Defensive Player of the Year. So I am just excited to see, his footwork, his offensive game, and obviously his defensive game as well. But I just want to see his pace. Something that we saw last year with Donovan Clingan was going from D1 to playing in the NBA. It's just a very, very different pace. Division I basketball is slower. You run actual offensive and defensive sets. And with Young Hansen, it is a situation where he played professional basketball for 2 years. So I want to see if it looks any different in Summer League, and if there's any difference in terms of foot speed and conditioning and stuff like that going to, an NBA level competition and game speed. So I'm really just looking forward to who can show out. I know obviously not only Young Hanson's going to be on the team. You have Caleb Love, you have Ryan Rupert, Sadisa Soko. Did I say that right?
Sissoko.
So I'm looking forward to those guys too. Those guys that are going to be back on the team and could potentially play some rotational minutes. I'm looking forward to that. So I'm just looking forward to watching some Blazers basketball again.
Yeah, I think everybody is.
Yeah.
They Summer League, they love it. They want to print some Summer League champion shirts. I know how they are. They have some fun. But of course, I think Jan, he's going to be good. He's going to have some fun. What's interesting with him is Coach Billups was asked about it at the introductory press conference. Like, hey, do you see a situation where he and Donovan play on the floor at the same time? He's like, no, absolutely not. They're two different. They complement each other, but they're kind of here for different reasons. And I think it's interesting because obviously I think Donovan Clingan let the world know that he's a really good defender last year.
Oh, yeah.
His offense is not good. There's no post game yet. He's not great around the rim. Started to get better as the year went on. I will give him that, absolutely. But it's just not his strength. Defense is. As where with Jan, one thing that he has, like I think he may already have better footwork in the paint than DC.
I agree.
Right? And so maybe you get a situation where DC is your defensive anchor, and then you run in your rotations. You got a center who can score a little bit with the Jan. So there's some intrigue there. Also, some of the passing skills we've seen at different stages. Like I'm intrigued to see how that translates to Summer League as well. How do you pass? How do you look?
Exactly, 100%. And like you said, and like I was talking about, it's game speed stuff. So like, I want to see him make those passes that he made in the Chinese league. I want to see him make those passes here as well, or at least try to make those passes. It's going to be hard because you're playing on a team that isn't going to be all the starting roster or roster that's on the team. So it's not like you're going to know everybody, and there's not going to be a ton of cohesion or chemistry. But to see him process the game at that level is what I'm super excited for.
Yeah, and as Tall Tim comments, is that the team, whether it be Coach Billups, whether it be Joe Cronin, whether it be the players who've talked about him, they all rave about his basketball IQ. That's what stood out, and those are the things you have a hard time teaching. You have that or you don't. We've seen incredibly talented players come through Portland and other cities who had some of the most talent you've ever seen, but they just didn't have the IQ for the game to put it all together. So if you have the IQ, that's good, and then you can teach the rest. And so that's the thing I'm looking for, too, here in Summer League is how does he look in those situations? What decisions does he make? How does he close out on defense? Does he get lost on defense, right? Does he get lost on offense? I mean, there was times this year where we saw Donovan Clingan get lost on both sides of the ball, and then he started to figure it out, and it really clicked, right? That was part of the reason Coach Billups took Shaedon Sharpe out, too, was getting lost on the defensive side of the ball, where you're sitting there, and next thing you know, he just looks around and he lost his guy, right? Now, he got better by the end of the year working on those things, but how does Jan look at Summer League session for a guy who's been praised for his IQ? And, like, I don't even care if he goes in there and he has an 8-turnover game.
No.
Because he's going to pass the ball. But, again, and the reason I say that is because you can only take away so much from the box score at Summer League, and I want to be very clear on that. Jan is going to be playing with, 3 Blazers who played in the system, Bouknight, City Sissoko, and Ryan Rupert. Now Bouknight was down at the remix the whole time. Sissoko played like 2 games in Portland. Rupert knows what he's doing. Outside of that, he's going to play with a bunch of guys who, A, aren't making the Blazers roster, and B, don't know the Blazers system. He's only played with for a week. There's not going to be that chemistry. So I would not be surprised if they put the ball in his hands up top and he looks to make a backdoor pass and it's a turnover because the guy wasn't there.
Yeah.
A miscommunication that's going to happen when you have no chemistry. But I'm going to be looking for, was that pass the right pass to be making?
Correct.
Right? And is he making it with the right intention? Like year one Scoot. How many times do we watch Scoot drive to the basket, jump up in the air, and then be stuck in no man's land? Like, oh, am I passing the ball or am I shooting it?
Yeah.
And then last year we saw that go away and he was doing things more decisive. So I want to see with Jan, does he do those things again with decisiveness and is making the right reads, and maybe those turnovers aren't his fault, or at least he's trying to make the right play. Things that won't show up in the box score, but you can tell right away that he has it.
Yeah. And that's something we've talked about before, right? I'm looking for Young Hansen and how he's going to impact the game outside of the box score. The box score really doesn't matter to me. And we've had a ton of players come through the Summer League that they have turned out to be great NBA players or longevity positive NBA players. that did not necessarily play well in the summer league. So
Yeah.
I don't think that I don't think that the summer league is a test to how good of a player you are in the slightest.
Yeah.
I am looking for what you can do outside of the box score, and the summer league really is just a massive eye test for me.
Yep.
The summer league is the greatest example of an eye test.
Yep. Nick Batum had a terrible summer league. He's still in the league. Jared Bayless had a great summer league. He didn't last long. Wembanyama didn't look great last year, or his first year. Zach Collins is, I think, a very good rotational big in this league. He did not look good at summer league. Bigs tend to not look good at summer league. So I wouldn't, be excited one way or the other. Like, I think the way summer league is set up, I fully expect Caleb Love to probably be the best player on the summer league team.
Yeah.
With the way summer league is set up, he's probably going to hit 20 points a night almost every single night.
Yeah.
I fully expect that.
Yeah.
Right. But summer league is set up weird. Respectfully, rest in peace to Caleb Swanigan. Gone way too early, way too soon.
Way too early.
But he was not really an NBA ready player, and that was shown when he played on the court. He was just a little bit of a step behind. Took him a minute to get going. I know Blazer fans loved him. Dude was incredibly easy to root for.
Oh yeah.
But in summer league, dude looked like he might be the next Zach Randolph. Like he was just a stud. Like he was hitting shots, he was getting rebounds, he was doubling. Why? Because summer league is made for hustle plays. It has nothing to do. The players who hustle the most and care not for the teammates around them at times and just go, all gas, no break. Like those guys will have massive summer leagues.
Oh yeah.
Massive summer leagues.
And what do we talk about too? It's like you are playing on a team full of guys that are trying to show they are NBA players. A post, and that is going to benefit a guy that can dribble the ball up the floor and shoot, or dribble the ball up the floor and pass. It is not going to benefit a guy like Young Hansen who has to get the ball passed to him to make something happen.
Right.
So if you have a guy who, we've talked about Caleb Love, he's trying to show, I should have gone in the first round. I should have this, blah, blah. People like that, where it's like you're going to have guys who are going to take more shots because they're in a position to take more shots, and it is in their best interest, whether that be to their own, knowledge or not. Nobody's trying to neglect other players in summer league. I'm just saying there will be times where Young Hansen has the ball and he says there's a backdoor cut there, but I guarantee a lot of those players go pick and pop for a three instead of the backdoor cut or something like that, to where it's going to make them look better. But those are positive things for me, and those are things I'm looking for with Young Hansen. Is he trying to make the right play, as well as everybody else on that Blazers Summer League team?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think there's a lot to gain and a lot to learn from Ryan Rupert in this Summer League as well. Keep in mind for Rupert, I thought Rupes had a good end to last year, started to piece it together. You saw some flashes. And some people would argue, why is he going to Summer League in year 3? That's a red flag. Ryan Rupert is 21 years old.
Yeah.
He is young. 3 years. He's entering year 3 in the league, and he is 21. He's a youngin'. He is an absolute youngin', still plenty to learn. He came in when he was drafted. You knew that he was raw.
Yeah,
absolutely raw. I'm not out on him as an NBA player yet, because I think that he still has a lot to learn. And maybe that's not with Portland in the long run. Maybe he goes this guy still has potential. Maybe he goes overseas and has a long career. He is a basketball player. He's just raw.
Yeah,
absolutely raw.
And we talked about this. Some people will say, well, why isn't Donovan Clingan going to the Summer League? Why isn't he getting run there to get, conditioning? Why isn't he?
Because Donovan Clingan started 37 games last year and proved that he's an NBA starter.
And he's going to start
for your Blazers. He's your day one starter because
he's going to start every game that he is healthy this season.
Yes,
every single one.
You cleared the pathway for by waiving DeAndre, and you do not need to send the guy that you think is your starting center down to Summer League. And I will say this because I got in this debate with Blazer fans today who want to see him. Well, cardio is an issue. I think that's overblown. I think the cardio is an issue, but it is not oh my God, it's so bad he can't play.
Yes.
He went from playing 10 minutes to playing over the last 20 games, he averaged almost 28 minutes per game.
I watched him play against Minnesota on a back-to-back, and that was when DeAndre Ayton initially got hurt. So he was out of shape, quote unquote. And I watched him I think he had 13 rebounds. He had 9 blocks. Yeah. And that was an out-of-conditioned player.
Yeah.
That was a lack of conditioning player.
And people will get that too, oh my God, it's so bad. I want you to point out to me how many 7 foot, 300-pound dudes are in massively great cardiovascular shape.
Yeah.
Your heart is only so big, and it can only pump blood so far with every single beat. Like, it takes a lot of work to be cardiovascularly. There's a reason there is not a lot of 7 foot tall marathon runners. Okay. I'm just going to point that out there.
Yeah, exactly.
They could run that 26.2 miles in about half as many steps, but there's a reason why there's not a lot of them. It takes a lot of work there, which again is why they went and drafted a center. It helps with the depth, helps with all those things. I just think it's overblown because if he goes out there and he's getting 30 minutes per night, that's fine. You're going to be fine. You're going to be fine with that. Right. And so, but the point is, if cardio is an issue that you do want to work on, there's nothing that he can't do at Summer League that he can't go do at the practice facility right now. And then some when it comes to working on your cardio.
Absolutely.
Right. So does it benefit him to put him in a situation where you're playing with guards who aren't going to be on the Blazers squad next year, who are just running basic pick and rolls because that's all you've had time to implement into your offensive scheme? You have no semblance of a defense. You're probably just going to run simple man and simple zones just to get something out there. You're not running a ton of plays because you've only been practicing with each other for a week.
Yeah.
What is the benefit in that? He would be set up to fail. He would be putting up games of 8-8, and people would be freaking out despite the fact that he was set up to fail. It's just like the year 3 when Jake Layman went down to Summer League in his year 3, when he was clearly still an NBA rotation player at that point. He was clearly the best team guy on the team, and he was terrible. Why? Because he knew the Blazers system for the last 3 years and was playing the freshman version of it with guys that he was not going to play with in the regular season, who had no idea where the cuts were, what was going on, and he was set up to fail.
Absolutely. And like you talked about, when you are an NBA rotational player, you are playing your game and catering your game to get NBA rotational minutes.
Yes.
So when you go backwards and you start to play with those guys that are not up to that level, it is a detriment to you, and then that ends up being a detriment to your team. I don't think it's the right thing to send him down there. It doesn't make sense.
Well, it's like Ryan Rupert. Again, Ryan Rupert played games at the NBA level last year with the Blazers. He looked good, but he still did not look like a full NBA-ready player. I can see where it makes sense to send him. Donovan Clingan, I feel like he can do much more harm than good. Oh, cardio is an issue. Then get his rear end on the treadmill, make him run lines. You can do that at the practice facility, and you don't have to put him in a position where I think, quite frankly, you can take a step backwards because, but Jan's going down there, and he's going to be in the same situation. Yeah, Jan is your prized frosh. He's going to go play freshman ball down in Las Vegas.
Correct.
Donovan Clingan played varsity last year.
Correct.
Don't need to send him to the JV team.
No. Jan Hansen, if he is getting cardio and playing live reps of basketball where the Blazers can see him, way better. Whereas Donovan Clingan, he doesn't need to do that.
Yep.
He's proven it. Jan Hansen hasn't yet.
Absolutely. All right, we're going to take one final break. When we come back, we'll wrap this bad boy up, put a bow on it, as my wife likes to say, and then get out of here. 4 hours of radio between Peyton and I today. Gotta rest up this voice for tomorrow. Chris Burkhardt here. Peyton Davis joining me on Courtside Monday on your home of the Blazers, Rip City Radio 620. Welcome back into Courtside Monday. Chris Burkhardt here with you. If you want to join the chat, 503-248-0620 is the telephone number. You can also head on over to youtube.com, type in Rip City Radio, and get on the combo there where Adam Smits has been holding it down, sending all sorts of good comments and questions, giving us something to chew on. So thanks, Adam, for all those comments. And, of course, Chris Burkhardt here with my man Peyton Davis. You can hit us up on social. Chris J. Burkhardt and
Davis PD03.
Yeah, that's right. On Twitter, he sends out one tweet every other week, mainly just to say he's on Rip City Radio. Look at him. Look at him. I was like, this guy's
Shameless.
This guy's outperforming me. He's sending tweets about being on the Rip City Drive before I am, and I'm the one filling in for Chad. What's going on here? I can't allow that, so I had to send out a tweet too. You know, we had to have some fun. But no, man, we were talking summer league a second ago. We were talking about expectations, obviously, for Young Hansen, but I want to know, because I haven't had a chance to talk to you about it, just like draft night, you're sitting there, Blazers have the 11th pick. I was kind of excited because, again, I really like Carter Bryant. I thought Bryant was going to be the pick. And then all of a sudden you get the trade news, you're like, oh, okay, where are they going with this? And then they go for Hansen. And you're like, okay, I didn't know that was an option. I had all the graphics for Rip City Radio ready to go. I'd gone through all the mock drafts. I had about 35 different prospects. I was like, if they trade up, they trade down, I'm ready to go. If they trade up to number one, I'm ready to go with a Cooper flag, number one overall, the Portland Trailblazers graphic. They drafted the one guy I didn't have a graphic ready for. I was like, wow. I mean, he was projected by a lot of mocks to be a second rounder, late first. I think he climbed up boards very quickly late. At his introductory press conference, he said that he was expecting to go in the 20s, the early 20s. Mm-hmm. So I think there's a belief that Brooklyn was definitely interested, and they had the 19th and the 22nd pick. Minnesota also rumored to have interest. They were the pick immediately after.
Yeah.
So Portland took a swing. And here's the thing, too. I think all the time, Peyton, everyone's like, Joe Cronin, take a swing, take a swing, take a swing. Don't do the safe thing. He didn't do the safe thing. They took a swing on a guy that they like. Shocked a lot of people. So I want to know what your initial reaction was and how you're feeling about that pick.
Initially, it was a situation where I was just like, okay, I didn't know this was our route. And to go back to something we talked about earlier, we talked about spending money before you get your check. And I think this, in reality, after looking at everything, immediate reaction was, what are we doing? Everybody's reaction was that. What are we doing? Now we have 4 centers on the roster. This doesn't make any sense. All these things. And then you see his film, and you see the potential. And the problem was I was also a huge Carter Bryant fan. He was awesome. Loved watching him at Arizona. He was super great. One of my favorite players to watch in college when I watched March Madness and before. But, of course, my immediate thought afterwards was, I'm not an NBA executive, so I don't know what this looks like. And then the stuff starts to unfold, right? We had been scouting him for 2 years. We thought he was going to be in last year's draft. You know, there's reports that he really, shot up people's big board late into the 20s. Even Minnesota had rumors of getting him at 17 right after us. And we also traded back 5 picks and got a first and 2 seconds and still got a guy we were super high on. So when I really look at full scope, immediately I was like, I don't know what our role is anymore. I was like, immediately my reaction was, I want to be a team, or I want to be in a position where I can look at the moves the Blazers make and I see our vision clearly. And that was a big block in that. I was like, okay, I'm seeing the vision for us. And then we draft Hansen, or we draft Young Hansen, and I'm like, I lost the vision. But then you look at everything unfold and you see, okay, then we offload Ayton, and we trade, and we'd already traded Anthony at that point. So I'm like, okay, that was a situation where we had spent some money before we had gotten our check or gotten to our monthly check. We had planned on getting rid of Ayton or buying him out or something of that nature. So we made a move to counter that before the counter was even necessary. Moves and counter moves. That's what I found out the NBA is. That's what I found out a lot of this is moves and counter moves. So when I look at it now from a perspective, I'm like, this is one of the moves that makes us look like a competent organization. This guy has lots of years of experience in a professional basketball league. And from our history, we've seen that guys who play professionally before this are more successful, rather than being in college and coming out, or, playing a couple years in college and coming out to the NBA. So, to sum it all up, initial reaction was, what are we doing? I don't know what we're doing. And then to follow that up, I was like, okay, after everything unfolds, I see the vision and I understand. So as of now, I want to see what it looks like when he plays. I want to see how he plays with others. I want to see how he plays because he's going to get real rotational minutes this year. But as of now, I would say I'm happy with the pick. I am happy.
Yeah, and as commenters pointed out on YouTube, the very next draft pick there at 17 was Behringer, a center by Minnesota, and Minnesota was eyeing that position. So the idea that they may have been interested in Young is very true. And yeah, so my job, everyone gets mad at me because I don't poo-poo every move they make. My job, I always view it as, okay, they made this move, whether I agree with it or not. My job is to put myself in the position of the team and try to understand why they made that. And it's like, I thought it was clear when they made that move that there was going to be a move, whether it was Ayton or Robert Williams, and still might be Robert Williams eventually, because you're not going into the center or into a season with a third of your roster centers.
Yeah.
Like, it's just not going to happen.
No.
And so you need depth. And I agree. I like the move because of that. And now we just get to see it play out. And hopefully he's great. But all right, music means it's time to go. 4 hours goes by fast when you're having fun. Peyton, thanks as always.
Thank you. As always, I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Time to put a bow on it, though, as my wife likes to say. I'll be back with you with the Rip City Drive tomorrow from 3 to 6. And Courtside Monday next Monday, where we'll be breaking down the first two